complete college basketball's greatest rebound and rebuild with a championship.
If you're going to war and I'm coaching, I'm taking these guys.
Baylor, kings of college basketball, #1 in the land, and the trophy is coming to Waco.
Baylor, one of the great turnarounds in college athletics history, national champions in year 18 for Scott Drew.
Our fans that have been with us for the lean years, the good years, and our administration, President Livingstone, Mac Rhodes, they all deserve this. The city of Waco deserves this. Hey, Texas, we got a national championship too. The state deserves it.
Did I stutter?
He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
The 2011 winner of the Heisman Trophy is Robert Griffin III, RG3!
Welcome to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Langoliers, base hit to center, and the Baylor Bears win their first Big 12 tournament championship.
Their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear, which is how great you are.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Yep, just ready for OU.
You can't handle the truth.
Here's Drake Toll.
And welcome into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Thursday. Thursday, everybody. Coming in hot today with Baylor baseball. It is 3-3, the score right now between the Bears and the Kansas State Wildcats in the top of the 7th inning. I'm Drake Toll alongside Armstrong Sims. We got Andrew Robertson and Marquise Cooley in studio with us as well today, talking all things baseball. Got a loaded guest lineup that's centered around baseball. Do want to let you know, because somebody asked me yesterday, they said, hey, where's JD been all week? He is walking his dog in Jamaica. He is in Jamaica walking his dog, doing his civic duty and making sure his dog gets out and has time to go outside and do its business. Loaded guest list, like I said today. You got Terry Hunt, the Baylor baseball PA guy, coming on at 11:25. Troy Montemayor, who is the career leader in saves at Baylor University, joins us at noon. Kendall Kaut at 12:30 from Our Daily Bears on Baylor men's basketball and the draft prospects on the team. And then 1 o'clock, Konstantin Franz and Sven Law of Baylor men's tennis. 1:30, Shahan Jeraha joins us talking football. Got Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law. Do want to go there for a second before we give a recap of what's happening right now in Oklahoma City. Connie Franzen, Sven overplaying doubles. Yesterday, they took on William Bloomberg, a familiar name to Baylor men's tennis. Bloomberg is a 10-time All-American in the sport. Yesterday, he squared off with Adrian Boitan of Baylor in the singles competition in the Elite Eight. Boitan fought his way to a win to advance to the Final Four. Adrian, the first one to do that since 2015 for Baylor. Pretty sure that's it. That was in the notes, 2015. For Adrian Boitan, he advances to the national semifinal. Andrew, right when we thought tennis was done, tennis is just still right here in the very fat middle of everything.
I, hand up, have no idea the tennis scheduling. I feel almost cruel to the players that they have to play. What is it now, 8 days straight that they've had to play matches? It's unbelievable. And I think this bodes well for my Year of the Bear argument, because we have players playing in the semifinal for both doubles and singles. You know, you got to hope at least one of those guys can pull it out, so that could be another championship for the school.
Could be. I mean, they've got backs against the wall. The doubles team plays number 2 team in the country today. Rundown on tennis here before we get into baseball. I'll give you a recap on what's happened today in Bricktown. It's 3-3 in the top of the 7th inning for Baylor. Ryan Lekic is now on the mound with 2 on for Kansas State and 1 out, and a K-State hitter ready to rock.
Ooh, he swung at that.
There he did.
It does not look promising. It was 3-2 at the beginning of the inning with no one on, and the last pitcher we had on, I don't recall his name, but it is a scary situation in Oklahoma City right now. This is a must-win game for Baylor.
It is a must-win. Dylan Phillips is up right now for Kansas State. 7th consecutive day of competition. Baylor men's tennis third-year sophomore Adrian Boitan booked his spot in the NCAA singles semifinals. with an impressive victory on Wednesday over, like I said, William Bloomberg, 10-time All-American, which is the most in collegiate tennis history. Boitan came in number 21 in the nation, Bloomberg number 35, and Boitan just dominated Bloomberg. Number 9 doubles pairing of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law edged Bloomberg and his doubles partner Brian Kernock, and that is the number 3rd ranked duo in the nation. So
Dagger from Kansas State.
Big upset there. And yeah, Kansas State's going to go up here on a base hit to center field. Ryan Leckitz, the old mustache, not working out too well. First and third for Kansas State. They're up 4-3. But it is the first year in program history that both a singles and doubles competitor have made it to the semifinal, national semifinal, both going to the Final Four. With the individual win, Boitan becomes the 4th Bayer in program history to reach the Final Four. In the singles, first since Benedict Dorsch in 2005. So it wasn't 15, it was 5. Baylor's 3-0 all-time in NCAA singles semifinals. Dorsch reached the championship match twice. Benjamin Becker did so in 2004. He is riding a 13-match win streak, 15-1 in his last 20 outings, including unfinished contests for Boitan. And then Franzen and Law became the second Baylor pair to reach the semifinals. The first was in 2014, Diego Galano and Julian Lenz. So that is tennis. Those guys play Adrian Boitan today in the Final Four at 1 p.m. And then Sven Law and Konstantin Franzen, number 9, take on number 4. That is at 5 p.m. And again, Boitan's going to face the number 2 player in the country today. So does the buck stop here for Baylor men's tennis? We'll find out. On to baseball today. We'll open up the call lines, 254-339-1122. Baseball team started well in Oklahoma City today. Looking at a play-by-play right now, and it looked promising for Baylor baseball, especially pitching-wise. Hayden Kettler went out there and threw a gem early on, and Kansas State somehow now is taking the lead by 2 runs. So I'm looking play-by-play here. First inning, it's Baylor. Again, I don't think you could have asked anything better of Hayden Kettler and what he was able to do going out there. I mean, Kettler just looked really, really solid early on especially. Kansas State did too. They started, let's see here. Kansas State, so you had McCullough was the pitcher for Kansas State at the start of the game today. K-State didn't allow a run until we got to the 3rd inning, and that is when Jared McKenzie said home run down the right field line, and it wasn't a no-doubter. Jared McKenzie made us a little bit nervous with his home run into right. They reviewed it, originally called it a foul ball, reviewed it, said it was a home run on a 3-2 count, gave McKenzie the home run that broke the scoreless game, 1-0. Richardson fouled out. Thomas lined out, Valdez walked, and then after that, Kyle Nevin reached on a fielder's choice before everything kind of collapsed in that 3rd inning. Baylor up 1-0. Go to the 4th. Fast forward to the 4th inning. Baylor gets into that. Jared McKenzie, again, it was kind of on the bat of McKenzie that Baylor was able to make their bed. Davion Downey struck out. You had Schoenvogel, who lined out to left field. Wesner singled. Pineda singled. Pineda advanced on a wild pitch along with Wesner. Then Jared McKenzie with a single up the middle that scored 2. That was 3-0 Baylor in the 4th inning. Bears looked solid. Go to the 5th, where Hayden Kettler is still out there for Baylor, throwing really solid. Single to right center, gets a ground out, a fly out, and a ground out. So Kettler, even though a little bit of damage in the 5th, single-wise, nothing on the board. Go to the 6th, where Hayden Kettler started strong and got his way not quite out of the 6th. They brought Jimmy Winston in, and at that point, Kansas State was able to knock a home run from Kokoska, and that put Kansas State on the board 3-1. Bring up Goodwin, and Goodwin homers as well. 2 one-run home runs, both off of Hayden Kettler, who again started the inning strong, couldn't get out of it. Jimmy Winston comes in. He records an out, the first player he sees with a line out to center field. We go to the 7th. Baylor up 3-2, and this is where things got hairy, and they're still hairy right now.
They're still getting so hairy.
Still on the top of the 7th for Baylor baseball against Kansas State, and it is now 6-3.
We can't buy an out. We just can't buy an out.
Yeah, it's not looking good in the top of this inning. So Baylor has not batted yet in the 7th. They're down to their last 9 outs. First batter of the inning flied out, so pretty quick out for Jimmy Winston. After that, Kaplinger, double down the right field line. Thompson, single to center field, scores and run tie at 3-3. Thompson steals second. Johnson hit by pitch. Now you got runners first and second. Lekic comes into pitch. First batter Lekic sees. He singles to left center. 4-3 Kansas State. Next batter Lekic sees. Sperlin singles down the right field line, make it 5-3. Next batter he sees. Kokoska, single through the right side. 6-3 Kansas State. And just now it is 4 runs, 5 hits, no errors, 2 left on base for Kansas State as the Wildcats blow up the 7th inning, top of the 7th inning, and Baylor. Oh, man. So we're going, there's still just 1 out. We're still on top of the 7th. I didn't realize.
Pitching change. Also, fun fact, I didn't know you could change the pitcher after he's already thrown a pitch to the batter. Is that a normal thing?
Yeah.
In all baseball or just college?
All baseball.
No, you're telling me I walk in, I throw 2 strikes, and they're like, you know what? We're going to throw the lefty at him now. They pull me out. Does he keep his 2 strikes?
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
Amendment needed.
I mean, we can talk to the baseball gods.
We need to.
But so far, I don't. I think the one rule I would change in baseball, if I had to change a baseball rule, would be that I would put a double bag at first base, a la softball. I've seen way too many guys get hurt running to first base because there's no room for the first baseman to hold first base with a runner storming at him.
Wait, double bag as in?
Softball has like a runner's bag and a fielder's bag, and then no one tears their ACL when they're running down to first base. So, Is it different? Yeah. Is it exponentially safer and doesn't change anything about the game? Also, yes.
I thought you would implement a mercy rule based on previous discussions, but no. All right.
They do have a mercy rule here.
In baseball, they have a mercy rule.
Yep.
Unbelievable. What is the integrity of this game?
10 after 7. 10 after 7 on the mercy rule. So Baylor is going to go to the bullpen here in the top of the 7th against Kansas State. Looking at the game summary right now, they're going to go with, oh man, it's gotten that bad. They're going to go with Luke Boyd pitching right now for Baylor. Boyd's going to come in, runners on first and third. Luke Boyd is Baylor's best guy, but the fact that you're having to use him now is not what you want. That's obviously not ideal for Baylor to use up Luke Boyd when you're down by 3, but it's a must-win game.
Got to do something.
So Boyd's got to go out there. Boyd this season, 1 win, 2 losses, 8 saves this year for Luke Boyd, 26 innings pitched, 3 earned runs allowed. He's got a 1.04 ERA, 13 hits, 10 walks, 40 strikeouts in 26 innings. He has only allowed 1 extra base hit. That was a double earlier this year. He has hit 3 batters. Luke Boyd is now pitching for Baylor. He's the best pitcher on this staff, and he's going to face Nick Goodwin, the first batter up for Kansas State. Goodwin, 44 runs scored this season on 59 hits, has 32 RBI, 10 home runs. 10 home runs to 45 strikeouts this season, been hit by a pitch 4 times, stolen 13 bases. He's got a slugging percentage of 495, and his batting average is 281. Against lefties, he's 224, though. So you've got now Kansas State's Nick Goodwin facing off against Luke Boyd. Boyd with a quick 2 strikes on Goodwin.
Whoa. Are you ahead of the TV?
Yeah, I've got the StatCast pulled up. No balls, 2 strikes on Goodwin right here. We got a caller on the line. Got Cam. Cam's calling us from Arlington. Cam, middle of the baseball game, man. What's going on?
Nothing much. I'm just saying that we should have beat Tech yesterday because in the series against them in regular season, we absolutely destroyed them.
Yeah, man. Baylor went on the road. First team since 2018 to win a series against Texas Tech. Tech all time, they are undefeated at home in super regionals. They're really, really good in Lubbock. You think, if Baylor can beat Texas Tech on the road, they could probably beat them on a neutral site, right?
Yeah, but I think our pitching was just awful yesterday.
Yeah, I was surprised that Cam Cayley, who's been pretty solid here lately, wasn't able to start things out as hot as normal. He, again, his last 26 innings before yesterday, he had a 1.4 ERA, which is solid, and we just didn't see that yesterday, did we?
No, it didn't. Boyd's pitching today, right?
Yeah, you got Luke Boyd, who's on the mound right now, which I don't know how well that, but you didn't want to use up too many of those reliever arms. But yeah, Luke Boyd is on the bump right now as we speak, facing Caleb Little Jim. So Kansas State, 2 outs, the top of the 7th. K-State's put up a 4 spot there. So, yeah, Baylor trying to stop the bleeding, but 3-0 looked really good. 6-3 looks pretty bad.
Oh, wow. What time did it start?
9 o'clock.
Oh, gosh. I thought it didn't start till later. All right. Well, it might be a short trip, but we'll still make regionals, right? If we're pretty far along.
Kim, I can't lie to you. If Baylor loses this game, the regional hopes look pretty bleak in comparison to what I thought they did. As it sits right now, it's not looking good for Baylor after they lost yesterday. And if they lose today, I think there's a good shot that Baylor doesn't make it into the NCAA tournament. They'll be right on the bubble. They got to hope that the teams they've lost to just keep on winning. But, Cam, they really need a win today. If they don't get it, they're probably in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we found a way to win in regular season somehow, but in the Big 12 tournament, since when we beat TCU on Langlear's walk-off, we haven't been the best.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's been downhill since then, but it has been different for sure. Shea Langlears was one of the best players in collegiate baseball, one of the best players in program history, and you lose a guy like that, tough to recover from. But, Cam, I got a Bear Games question of the day today. If you're out there for Baylor baseball, what position are you playing? And all across the history of Baylor baseball, if there's one team that you could play with, which one would it be?
My position would either be third base or pitcher, and the team I would want to play for would probably be that Big 12 championship team with Langlears or Max Muncy's team.
Lock it in, either 2012 or 2018. Hey, Cam, thanks for your call. Always good to hear from you.
All right, see ya.
Yeah, I love it. Got so now 2 outs, top of the 7th. Kansas State is up 9-3.
Let me break down this last play for you, Drizzy. We have their man on first base is in a rundown. We have him dead to rights. Ball is in the second baseman's hand. He has nowhere to go. He doesn't throw the ball back to first, and then the next pitch, he hits a 3-run bomb. I mean, that is the worst home run to give up, especially when you have him dead to rights at second. That's brutal. Yeah, I mean, if you're Baylor, too, you're playing 2 teams in Tech and Kansas State that you've already beaten pretty badly. I mean, you've won series against both. You have smoked both, and it's going to be 2-Q for Baylor in the postseason. In the Big 12 tournament. Armstrong?
Scotty B says on the YouTube chat, when it rains, it pours. It sure does.
Yeah.
Scotty B.
College Baseball Nation, according to College Baseball Nation, just a couple of days in the tournament, there's carnage, and right now you're looking at teams that are eliminated from contention. So you got South Carolina, North Carolina, Cincinnati are out of their tournaments. It's looking like right now Baylor's not looking too hot. That's tough, man.
I would say Baylor's out at this point.
I think it's tough as far as who's gonna pull it off and make a run here. Doesn't look good for Baylor right now against Kansas State. Luke Boyd is still out there, 9-3 the score now. Boyd is facing Cameron Williams. Williams this season's batting .291. He's got 37 hits and 127 at-bats, 3 home runs, 5 doubles, 3 triples, 21 walks. So compared to 31 strikeouts, Cameron Williams against Luke Boyd. Boyd looking for an out. Kansas State, 9 runs on 11 hits and no errors. 7 runs put up in the 7th inning alone. Hopefully, there's no way they get to 17, right? Like they don't score 10 more runs this half inning. One can only hope they don't.
It took us, I believe, 6 runs to get 1 out. So at that pace, it will be 15-3 by the end of this inning.
Yeah, it's probably not good.
Not good.
That's probably not good.
I'd say very bad.
On a scale of 1 to good, it's not.
Not
so you got Baylor at 3 runs on 6 hits now. I mean, you've lost Cardozo Oquendo for at least a little bit. Not sure really his availability or when he'll come back. That hurts you batting lineup wise. Chase Wesner's been banged up. He's back in today. You've had to move Kyle Nevin around a lot. There's just been a lot with this team that's been tough. I mean, you're still looking for Shane Vogel to come along. Your pitching staff is decimated. Hayden Kettler goes out there and throws really well. I mean, Kettler's final line today was solid. Like I'm perfectly fine with Kettler's final line for Baylor. He had 24 batters faced, threw 76 pitches, 5 2/3. only allowed 2 earned runs on a couple of one-shot home runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, but he got out of it, and Baylor had a 3-2 lead. So he'll have a no decision for Hayden Kettler, but Baylor's going to I can't say Baylor's going to fall, but man, we're still on the top of the 7th. We got to have something here. They just now closed up shop. Going to the bottom of the 7th, Baylor trailing 9-3. First hour of SicEm365's Up-Tempo is brought to you by Banson Business Services. Owned by Baylor grad and SicEm365 premium member Jonathan Green, Banson Business Services offers a full suite of business support and financial services. Banson specializes in bookkeeping, payroll, outsourced CFO services, and consulting. They can help you with your taxes. Their business helps you run your business. Visit SicEm365.com/Banson for more information. I'm Drake Toll alongside Armstrong Sims. We got Andrew Robertson and Marquise Cooley in studio today. Don't go anywhere when we come back. We'll be joined on the show by Terry Hunt, who is the PA guy for Baylor baseball. After that, Troy Montemayor joins the show. Kendall Couch, Connie Franzen, Sven Law, and Shahan Jaraha. Come back after this break. This is Up-Tempo.
History. Consider yourself made. Baylor tennis is rolling still as singles player Adrian Boiton took down 10-time All-American William Blumberg 6-4 and 6-1. While the doubles tandem of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law took down a number 3 doubles team in the nation and a monumental upset. This is the first time in program history that Baylor has participants in the Final Four in both singles and doubles. Boiton competes against number 2 player in the nation at 1 o'clock today, while Baylor's doubles team is scheduled to face number 4 at 5 p.m. On the diamond, the Bears just couldn't get things going yesterday against Texas Tech. The Red Raiders struck early against Baylor freshman Cam Cayley to go up 3-0 in the first inning before extending the lead to 8-0 before the 5th. While the Bears would string together a few runs in the middle of the contest, Tech rolled 11-4. The loss dropped Baylor to the losers brackets of the Big 12 tournament, where they meet Kansas State at 9 a.m. this morning in an elimination game. Baylor's best available pitcher Hayden Kettler started the game for the Bears. For game updates, follow at Baylor Baseball on Twitter. And track, 4 Baylor athletes advanced to the quarterfinals at the NCAA West Regional yesterday, and Howard Fields, Deshaun Jones, Eli Morse, and Damden Johnson. The women's team takes the stage today. Across the country, Maryland has extended women's basketball coach Brenda Fries to a contract through 2028. Fries has won title in 19 seasons at Maryland and reached 500 victories this season. And Drew Timme is staying at Gonzaga. The forward, who is known for his famous mustache, helped lead the team to the national title this past season, where he and his friends lost to the Baylor Bears. I guess he wants to have to go through that pain again because he got absolutely embarrassed. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Cynthia! Jesus died for our Cynthias!
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Julia Roberts! Julia Rob!
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Jersey Thursday, everybody. And I say happy, and we are happy, but I tell you what, right now Baylor baseball down 9-3 against Kansas State and Oklahoma City in the Big 12 tournament. Up 3-0 to start the game and 9 unanswered for KSU. Now we're joined by Terry Hunt, the Baylor baseball PA guy. Terry, if anybody knows a thing or two about Baylor baseball, it's got to be you, and I didn't expect to see this version of Baylor today.
I was hoping to see game 1 or game 3 with K-State, not game 2, and this has a whole lot of similarities of the middle game of that series just a few weeks ago, where K-State just had the number, and they have so far. I'm not writing it off yet, but boy, they sure look like they have the number right now.
Terry, in that game against Kansas State, looking back to that game 2, I mean, it really wasn't bad for Baylor until about the 8th, 9th inning when, like you said, late in the game, things just took a turn. What do you remember about this game that compares to this one?
Well, I never second guess any coach's decisions. I mean, my cell phone never rings from the coaches, calling me going, Terry, what do you think? I know where the mindset is on making changes, but during the season, we've had times where we get into a bumpy area and you kind of let the pitchers come out of it a little bit. And it's the same thing. We put what we think are sure pitchers into the game, and it only takes a couple of mistakes. The unfortunate part is the mistakes happen when you've got multiple players on base. So you don't give up a single, you give runs up in that deal. And that's exactly what it looks like today from what it was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I tell you, Terry, it was Cam Cayley that started that game 2 against Kansas State and threw really a gem. Him against Jordan Wicks, who's maybe the best pitcher in the Big 12. Those guys went toe-to-toe for a long while. And then you go bullpen, and with COVID, injuries, the nagging stuff, just seems like Baylor's bullpen hasn't been there yet.
In the past, we talked about this the last time you and I talked. In the past, I think Coach Rod is kind of let them get into a bind, and then let them pitch out of it. And yeah, Hayden gave up a couple of back-to-back home runs today, but he's pitched out of some jams before. And I again, at that late in the game, plus you look at your bullpen, what the I guess the anticipation and what you've seen in the past, and for some reason it just didn't catch on today. I don't know what it was.
Terry, how much of this right now, as Baylor now has a runner on third base after a solid little triple, and they're going to get Kansas State is going to get out of it a 9-4 score. But Terry, how much of this is maybe Kansas State just being hot right now, winning a series against TCU, sneaking a couple wins? I mean, they should have won yesterday against TCU. This K-State team is oddly good right now.
K-State is a lot better than they looked on paper. Even when they came to Waco and played a few weeks ago, it wasn't supposed to be those high-scoring games that Baylor won. I thought those games would be a lot closer. I didn't think it would be like game number 2, all of them, but I thought they would be a much closer game. And, playing TCU the way they did, I mean, they were a couple of swings from winning that game, a couple of swings away from winning that game. And it just didn't happen. But they are a much, much better team than I think they look like on paper.
Terry, in the moment, 17 runs in 1/2 innings seemed really good. It felt really, really good. But you think that may have put a bit of a target, some bulletin board material up for Kansas State going into this one?
Whether or not anybody said anything to them from Baylor, or they got any text or emails from fans, I think previously I want to say that one of the managers told me that the year before last, I believe, they had 15 runs was the highest in a half inning, and that was against K-State. So I think K-State just went, look, we're tired of this. And mentally, I'm sure they went into it with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and said, look, we get any kind of a mistake on the pitcher's part, we're going for it. And I think they were all given green lights just because of the situation. Plus, they're good. I mean, they were hitting good.
Terry, I know one of the things that bodes well for Baylor has been some of the late game magic. They love to score in the first inning, and they love to score in the 8th inning. Even I look at games like Texas, they lost at home, where you look at the 8th inning, the bases are loaded. You're down by 1 or 2, and you got a shot to come back and win it. Baylor, talk about maybe their ability to come back, at least put up a few runs late in these games that could give them a shot to at least make things scary for Kansas State today.
Well, that's one of the things we talked about before as well, Drake. We talked about in the past couple of years, Baylor would get up and then get down, but they never were out. They never went up, we're down by 4, whatever. Let's just give it up, we're down. They hung in there and knew the bats could come alive, and they didn't lose any confidence. I'm not as positive about that now after going 1-5 in the last 2 series. And the way that they have played the first 2 rounds here in the Big 12 tourney, I worry that there's a little bit of confidence shaking going on right now when they did drop the 5 of the 6 games in that last 2 series. I don't want to say, because coach can only bring so many back, but you have 13 seniors, and those guys had a lot to look forward to for this last time. And you want the leadership to still be there. I hope it is still there to keep them going. But you just look at there's some kind of a level of confidence. It looks like it's dropped as we've gone through those last 2 series.
Terry, as I look at the pitchers that Baylor has seen the last 2 days, Mason Montgomery for Texas Tech is the same guy they faced off with in Lubbock, and they beat him. He took the loss in Lubbock. McCullough today, who started for Kansas State, he took the loss in Waco in the Friday night game, only went 2 1/3 and allowed 5 earned runs, 5 walks. And now these 2 guys have really shut down the Baylor lineup pretty effectively. What is different when you're facing a guy the second time around, and if you've already hit him, you've already done well against him, why the success lacking? Is it because that confidence seems like it's waning?
Well, I don't know if it's as much of the confidence, but I think you probably caught both of those guys on off days. That wasn't the norm for those pitchers. Those pitchers for Tech and for K-State were not in the habit of giving runs up early. And I think that was more of an off day. I think what you're seeing with some of the pitchers that we've seen, not just today, but yesterday, and even in the past couple of series, you've seen those guys get back to what is more of a norm for them. So I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary for them to be hit on early in previous games, as much as it is they may have been having an off day. And I think that again, K-State's a great team. I think we're seeing K-State play some really good baseball right now.
Terry, along with that, with K-State playing as well as they are, Oklahoma catching a bit of a hot streak here lately. Obviously, Oklahoma State picked their season back up going into the end of the year. Kansas just refuses to be swept by anybody, and they're the worst team in the conference. They take one game from every team they play. How well, or what does that show, I should say, about the Big 12 and how deep this conference is?
I think it's been like this in a number of other sports, and you're starting to see baseball. I mean, it's the old adage, on any given Sunday, on any given game day, you look at teams. I mean, take TCU. It's TCU. Come on, really? They're going to lose to K-State and get that close? Look at Texas. I mean, there's so many of them from top to bottom that can battle any day of any week, and you don't know who's going to come in to win. Hey, on paper, this one is strong. But if everybody puts it together, and it doesn't have to be a perfect game they put together, it's just got to be a really good game. And I think the competition in the Big 12 baseball right now is getting so strong that everybody throws the best at everybody the majority of the time.
Terry, with this Baylor team, too, you talk about the strength of the Big 12, and Baylor's been a big part of that. Injuries, though, have hurt. Tyler Thomas, we haven't seen at full strength out there in the past, I'd say 3 weeks, almost a month. You're dealing with that, too, with Blake Helton now, who is out for the Big 12 tournament, most likely the entire thing. Cardozo Oquendo, haven't seen him here in a bit since Oklahoma State. Injury-wise and COVID-wise, everything all tied together. What Baylor are we seeing? This doesn't feel like the A1 Baylor.
No, this doesn't look like the same team that we were talking about 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is not the team that lost to TCU that were swept, but it's also not the team that came back and went 14-3 the next 17 games at home. So this has been one of those years where I'm not sure which is the real Baylor team. They're playing above their heads because they already did much more than they were even picked to do. So do you look at it and say, hey, this has still been a good season because of that? But realistically, what was the real Baylor team we were going to be seeing this year? Was it more of an average team, not playing above, not the bats getting as strong, pitching maybe not being as strong? I don't want to say that we've seen an average today. I think it's somewhere between the wins and somewhere between the losses. I think they're a really good middle team that played above their head more than they played below.
Well, Terry, they played above their head for so long. Those 4 straight weekends where they win conference series. You talked about the non-conference win streak that extended for so long early on in the season after a tough start to the year. And now you've got a squad that's just trying to get into the postseason. We asked an analyst yesterday, hey, ideally, which regional do you see Baylor going to? And they said any one of them. Just see your name called at this point to go to the postseason. When you look at the full body of work of this team, are they a postseason team?
Well, their RPI has dropped to 40 as of the 25th. 40 is getting a little bit deep, especially when you have as many Big 12 teams above that. But yeah, if you take the season as a whole and you don't look at that one aspect, they're still a good at large team. They really are. And we've seen them, again, go back to the TCU series where they got swept. They can turn around and go into the big tournament and scare some people because they have that ability. So I don't know if this is a bump in the road or if it's, again, getting back to what the team really is. But, man, the body of work, if you look at the highs and not necessarily focus on all of the lows, I think they should get in. I think they should get a bid, and they should scare some people what region they go to.
Well, Terry, if you're on the committee, whether it be the Tech win, that win streak, I mean, what are the things you're pointing at? Make a case right now for Baylor baseball, even if they lose today, to make it into the postseason.
The first thing you got to talk about is their home season record, their home record. They again, toward the end, they lost some, but I think you got to start with that. You've got to look at that. You've got to say that this team can put it together. No matter what you see with the pitching today, I think you got to look at the pitching staff too. You've got to look at the runs scored for this team. You've got to look that the majority of the time, even in their losses, they were still in the game. And you got to look at the wins they have. I mean, again, you lose all three to TCU. With that in your mind, if Tech was the next weekend, that would make you go, well, we're probably going to lose three there. But they take two, and you look at all the series that they ended up winning, not sweeping, but winning. You've got to look at that they're winning more than they're losing. Okay, they lost to Tech yesterday. Too bad it's not a series there, because I think they could turn around and beat Tech at least one, maybe two games. Same thing with K-State. I think today, if you made it a 3-game series, Baylor would come back and take two. So I think if you look at it from that standpoint, you've got to put them in somewhere. You've got to get them in. They're not a Cinderella team. I don't want to do that. And they're not just an underdog. They're a competitive team that would do well in a region.
Terry, from what you've seen, everything this season, Baylor coming together here in the tournament, I do want to kind of touch base with them being in Bricktown right now. How tough is it when you're not at full strength to go in and compete in a tournament like the monster that the Big 12 tournament is?
Well, again, we just talked about how the team is, the conference is so deep that there's no advantage to anyone. You go there, you're going to be facing everybody's best. And again, it takes just a couple of good innings and you're way above your head. It also just takes a couple of bad innings, and now you're just kind of like, oh, here we are again. If you've had that, that's where I worry about the confidence level, because Baylor's gone through that more in the last 2 weeks than anything else. They get up and then they get down. I don't know if it's a confidence level as much as like, oh man, we gotta fight again. How many emotional fights can you have before you just go, oh man, I'm just tired?
I think tournament scenario too. That's where a lot of these teams, it's make or break, because not a lot of sleep going on. You're up at 6 a.m. for a 9 a.m. game, and that's what Baylor's had to fight through the last 2 days. Now 2 outs here in the bottom of the 8th for the Bears, trailing 9-4. Terry, I mean, all of this wrapped together, I do want to note, now that Baylor's done with their home season, we haven't talked to you since they wrapped it up. I know that you love your job doing the PA, because I know I love mine, it's one of the most fun things in the world to get paid to talk about baseball.
Well, not to talk about it, but just watch baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever mislead announcing a batter in the box because you're just enjoying the game as a fan. I've done that. It's like, man, what a great hit. You're all excited, everything, and then they go, oh, the next batter's up.
Especially in the biggest moments, too. It's always when you forget them. That's the worst part. But, Terry, what's one thing for you that you'll take away from this past season that really was memorable or that stuck out?
All the freshmen and how they played great. There was one game, I'm sorry, I don't remember which one it was, but when you count the pitcher, we started six freshmen. Six freshmen, and they all played great. We win the game. I take out of the fact that we talked about this a few weeks ago. When one's down, it's next man up. Now you can do that for only so long. Again, COVID and injuries and things like that. But I am so excited because of the way the freshmen played. And the biggest takeaway, Jared McKenzie. Where did this guy come from? I mean, even today, just what he did. He knocked in the home run and then knocked in 2 more runs at a critical time to give them that early lead. I'm excited about the bats coming alive. It's kind of like a lot of teams go through. We got to get the pitching up there now.
Well, Terry, I got a Bear Games question of the day for you today, and it centers around Baylor baseball, and that's if you could play one position on one Baylor team any year, 2012, 2018, any of these years, which position would you play and on which Baylor team?
Wow, that's tough. Probably left field this year, because it's kind of been a round robin out there with some of the injuries and COVID, things like that. Because I would be out there and only have to make a few plays before I could pull because a better player went in. That's where I think that would be the place to start anyway.
You heard it here first. Terry Hunt is playing left field just so he can go out as soon as possible and Baylor can find a new left fielder. That's the most
real left fielder out there, yes.
I think that's the best cop-out answer we'll get all day today.
You are so welcome.
Terry, I want to thank you for coming on the show as always and talking Baylor baseball today. Hopefully they can get some late magic going on here in this one, but even if not, man, fingers crossed we see him in a regional.
You bet. Fingers crossed. Everybody's going to be watching the selection time and see what happens with that. And, this has not been a bad year for any of the sports at Baylor. When you look at what tennis is doing now, you look at men's basketball, women's basketball, A&T, softball, baseball, even soccer. I mean, it's been fun. It's been good. And we're building a lot of good foundations.
Across the board. Terry, thank you again. A pleasure.
You bet. Always fun. Thanks, sir.
Again, that's Terry Hunt, the Baylor baseball PA public address announcer. We'll be joined at 12 o'clock by Troy Montemayor. I want to make a case right now. I mean, we're looking at Baylor baseball. Recap of the game so far. We're at the top of the ninth. Nobody out. 2-0 count. On the mound for Baylor right now, which it was surprising that he even came in to me, but I guess it made sense with Baylor. Down 6-3, Luke Boyd came in to try to put a tourniquet on the damage. Boyd allowed a home run in the first batter. I don't know if it was the first batter he faced, but he allowed a home run. I think it was the second batter he faced. 3-run home run that did not count against his ERA. Just one of those counted against his ERA. But the score now 9-4 after that. It would be 6-4 had that home run not come across with 2 outs for Kansas State. Yep, you got to run down
had
at
him
first.
in a rundown. It's like, what are we doing here, guys? It's a free out. 6-4 looks a lot better than 9-4. Find a flaw in that math. 6-4 is recoverable. 9-3 is that's a kick. That's a kick. That's a kick in the nuts right there.
Kansas State now has a runner on first base in Terrence Sperlin after a single. Sperlin on Kansas State up to 12 hits today. Baylor 8 hits, 9-4 the score right now. I'm looking at the RPI, college baseball RPI. We're trying to make a case for Baylor to make it in. So we talked about how Fairfield's the number 2 team in the country in the RPI yesterday. Fairfield lost in their conference tournament. On a scale of 1 to good, that is very, very bad that Fairfield lost. It was their first conference loss this season. They're 33-1 in the MAAC. The fact that they lost is going to bury bubble teams because now a team like Canisius from their conference can make it into the postseason. So when you have Baylor right there on the bubble looking to get in, it's just not going to work out too well for you down the stretch. I'm looking RPI-wise. Teams like Kansas at 55, Oklahoma 56. If it's going to be either Oklahoma or Baylor, it's going to be Baylor. The Bears, if they lose today, need to hope that Oklahoma loses as well in their elimination game. The more that Oklahoma loses, the better right now for Baylor. West Virginia at 68. Another problem with that, though, is the fact that Baylor, those are quality wins. Those are quadrant, quadrant two wins. But Baylor's quadrant 1 wins are a little more sparing. I'm looking RPI-wise. You also got to hope that a team if it comes down to either Baylor or LSU's full body of work this season, their RPI has them at 27, 13-17 in the SEC, 34-22 overall. Their RPI of 27. Strength of schedule is 3 right now. Non-conference, they went 21-4. LSU at 27. Do they get an at-large? Does Wright State, RPI 28, do they get an at-large? Liberty. What you're going to hope is that Wright State, Liberty, Nevada, UC Irvine, VCU, those teams all win their conference. Indiana State, Campbell. If those teams can all win their conference, that's going to bode well for Baylor because that takes those squads off of that, like right now, if they don't win their conference tournament, they're on the bubble as an RPI top 40 team to make it as an at-large. But it's so tough to take a team from the Big South and say, okay, you Big South team will make it in over Baylor after you didn't win your conference. So Baylor dream scenario right now, if you lose to Kansas State, which it looks like that's where we're headed.
It's looking grim.
It's 9-4 right now in the top of the ninth, 1 out, 1 man on for Kansas State, and a 1-1 count on the current hitter.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, we did score 17 runs in 1 inning versus this team, so it can be done.
Can't do that here. You can only score 7 because that would then be 5. You can only score 6.
Or we're down by 5.
Yes, you can only score 6.
Okay.
Bottom of the ninth.
Oh, good point.
Yep.
Well, we need 6, so there you go.
It would behoove Baylor to score 6 right here.
That'd be pretty sweet.
If Baylor scores 6 and comes back on Kansas State, I think they're a lock to make it in the postseason. Their RPI has dropped from 40 to 41. Georgia has moved into the 40 slot. Georgia got spanked by Arkansas yesterday. The reason Georgia moved into that slot is because they beat LSU in round 1 of the SEC tournament. Northeastern is at 39. Again, dream scenario if you're Baylor right now. You take the loss, take your lumps to Kansas State. That's not a dream. You come back. But what's likely going to happen, you hope, again, Northeastern, Campbell, Indiana State, VCU, UC Irvine, Nevada, Liberty, Wright State, Charlotte, those teams, Southern Miss, Gonzaga, all have to win their conference tournaments. Because if they all win their conference tournament, that takes away the opportunity for bubble teams to make it in. The reason I said, let me explain that for a second. Team like, we'll land right now on Charlotte. Charlotte is a possible host team. 24 RPI, folks like their chances to host this year. Charlotte in the Conference USA. Let's say they go into their Conference USA tournament, and I don't know, it's Charlotte, Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss are all in the Conference USA, all top 25 RPI, probably going to make it to the tournament. Middle Tennessee State wins the Conference USA baseball tournament. They get an automatic bid. Now, these 3 teams, they're going to fill up an at-large slot, meaning that other teams on the bubble, a la Baylor, will not fill that at-large slot. So the more upsets there are in conference tournaments, the more teams that you don't expect to make the NCAA tournament that do, the less there is of an opportunity for Baylor to be able to sneak in and make it there. And what just happened? That's a replay.
Replay.
Woo! They showed a home run, and you got to keep.
We are making a pitching change right now. Luke Boyd is taking a seat after his 3rd strikeout. It's what it is. This has been a tough game to watch. I woke up this morning, and the first thing I did was I checked my phone. We were up 1-0. I was like, you know what? Maybe today's a good day. And then we got 9 runs put on us in like 2 innings. So
McKenzie's home run. But again, Baylor RPI 41. Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball already said the Bears are not making it in if they go 0-2, and they are in dangerous territory of finishing 0-2 in the Big 12, going 2-Q in the Big 12 tournament with a loss to Kansas State today. I think Terry Hunt made a great point, though. He said, listen, if you're the committee and you're looking at the full body of work of Baylor right now, you've got to put the Bears in based on the fact that they can win a 3-game series against anybody. They showed it against Tech. They can win a 3-game series against anybody. There are a couple schools like that. Kansas State beat TCU, but Baylor went on the road to Lubbock. That's one of the biggest upsets in college baseball the last couple of years, Baylor going to Lubbock and winning.
I think that, I'm obviously a little bit biased towards Baylor, but I think our conference can only do so much for us. We have really played ourselves into an unfortunate hand here. I mean, we lose 2 out of 3 in a home series versus Oklahoma, and then we go into this tournament, we go 0-2. As a bubble team before the tournament, going 0-2 in the tournament is the exact opposite of what you want to do. I mean, our conference is obviously pretty strong when it comes to baseball with Texas Tech, TCU, but I mean, Baylor is not giving the committee any reason to put them in right now. You're kind of just hoping on past things, and that makes me a little worried. It's like, what have you done for me lately, kind of? And Baylor hasn't done a lot.
Auto bid wise, so ACC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, 31 automatic bids.
31 automatic bids out of 64.
Out of 64.
Okay.
So 31 teams will make it, no question. That's 31 conferences. So fingers are very, very crossed that the best team in every conference will win their conference tournament. So
unlikely, but yeah, I hope so.
Big 12 wise, you have to hope Kansas State loses. You have to hope that either Texas Tech Texas or TCU win the Big 12 tournament.
Now, I believe the game coming up after this is OU versus Texas in an elimination game.
Yep.
So we're Texas fans for that game.
Very fingers crossed that Texas wins that one. Very Texas fans
because
for that
Oklahoma's
one.
also a bubble team.
So now you have out of those 31 teams that make it in automatically, that leaves 33 teams that make it in at an at-large. The best part, you're like, oh, shoot, man, like, gosh dang it. That's 31 teams, those 34 at-large bids, the first 25 go to the top 25 teams, then who? Not true, though. Not so fast, my friend, because you got to think about the fact that with where Baylor baseball is right now, where baseball is in general, top 25 teams are going to, 10 or 15 of them are going to win their conference tournament. So that's going to open it up a little bit more for RPI. RPI top 35 teams, you're an at-large. Lock it in. If you don't win your conference, you're probably going in as an at-large. Once you get past 35, now you're factoring in a lot of different things on location, and there's just a ton of stuff that goes into it. Baylor baseball, though, looked really good for a while. Had a shot at being top 3 in the Big 12 with a win at Texas Tech. And, man, things just don't look quite the same right now.
It's actually crazy how much things have flipped in my mind. Like, after the Texas Tech series, I was like, this team has turned a corner. We're looking really good. And I don't know how much COVID – I mean, we know that COVID impacted this team in some way or another. Maybe they haven't been the same since that. But – I mean, it seems like ever since I got excited about the team after the Texas Tech series, there really hasn't been a lot to celebrate. I mean, Kansas State was obviously pretty great as well. I went to the one game that we didn't win, which was pretty annoying. But, I mean, the Kansas State series win was great, 17 runs in 1 inning. It's really ever since we lost the series to OU. That's a series we need to win. We should have won. It was a tone setter for the Big 12 tournament. And, this team's kind of – they're falling apart in front of our eyes right now.
Baylor is down 5-9-4. Right now, 1 out in the bottom of the 9th. Chase Wesner just got out. Jack Pineda is up. He's 2 for 4 today. Jared McKenzie behind him. So restart the lineup in need of at least 5 runs here in the bottom of the 9th with 1 out already. I'm Drake Toll alongside Armstrong Sims, Andrew Robertson, and Marquise Cooley. When we come back, Troy Montemayor, who is the career saves leader in Baylor history and one of the best closers that Baylor has had, who came around. He was right there between the Smith and Rodriguez era, got to play for both coaches. Said he really found his footing under Coach Rod and Coach Strauss. He joins the show coming up after this to talk to us about Baylor baseball this season, his Baylor baseball career, his career as he was drafted as a Cardinal, and moving forward. We'll keep you updated on Baylor as far as the game today against Kansas State, as 1-1 count right now on Jack Pineda, the leadoff hitter, with 1 out, bottom of the 9th. Baylor needing to put up at least a 5 spot to beat Kansas State. Again, Drake Toll, Armstrong Sims, got Andrew Robertson and Marquise Cooley. When we come back, Troy Montemayor joins the show. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
History. Consider yourself made. Baylor tennis is rolling still as singles player Adrian Boiton took down 10-time All-American William Blumberg 6-4 and 6-1. While the doubles tandem of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law took down a number 3 doubles team in the nation and a monumental upset. This is the first time in program history that Baylor has participants in the Final Four in both singles and doubles. Boiton competes against number 2 player in the nation at 1 o'clock today, while Baylor's doubles team is scheduled to face number 4 at 5 p.m. On the diamond, the Bears just couldn't get things going yesterday against Texas Tech. The Red Raiders struck early against Baylor freshman Cam Cayley to go up 3-0 in the first inning before extending the lead to 8-0 before the 5th. While the Bears would string together a few runs in the middle of the contest, Tech rolled 11-4. The loss dropped Baylor to the losers brackets of the Big 12 tournament, where they meet Kansas State at 9 a.m. this morning in an elimination game. Baylor's best available pitcher, Hayden Kettler, started the game for the Bears. For game updates, follow at Baylor Baseball on Twitter. And track, 4 Baylor athletes advanced to the quarterfinals at the NCAA West Regional yesterday. And Howard Fields, Deshaun Jones, Eli Morse, and Damden Johnson. The women's team takes the stage today. Across the country, Maryland has extended women's basketball coach Brenda Fries to a contract through 2028. Fries has 1 title in 19 seasons at Maryland and reached 500 victories this season. And Drew Timme is staying at Gonzaga. The forward, who is known for his famous mustache, helped lead the team to the national title this past season, where he and his friends lost to the Baylor Bears. I guess he wants to have to go through that pain again because he got absolutely embarrassed. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion. And I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
I got breaking news here. We got Western Athletic Conference just announced they're adding several schools.
The WAC.
The WAC.
Okay. Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
I think Coach Gundy would be like my guy that I would just like just the hair. Yeah. I just want to be able to see it flow when I kind of slam his arm down.
Here's Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Thursday, everybody. Talking Baylor baseball most of today as they are trying to find their way into the NCAA postseason this year after a loss today to Kansas State 9-4 in Oklahoma City. We're now joined by really one of the Baylor legends of the Steve Rodriguez era, as short as it has been so far, and that is Troy Montemayor. Troy, thanks for coming on the show today. Hope you're doing well, man.
I am. Thank you for having me.
A pleasure, and I know that a lot of Baylor fans out there will remember your career, your era at Baylor, playing baseball for Steve Rod and the Bears. But one of the things that really I think is lost on a lot of folks is the fact that you played for both Coach Smith and Coach Rod, had a completely different staff in the middle of your career at Baylor. Man, what was that like for you?
Yeah, as a walk-on with Smith, we had a rough year, and that transition with Coach Rod and Coach Strauss, we brought a lot of guys in, a lot of guys that that roster was very inflated my sophomore year, and it was basically a second walk-on for me. learning a new coaching staff, a whole new system, whole new strength coach. It was very hectic sophomore year. And we had our growing pains like a lot of teams with new coaches do. Finished out my career on a high note, winning the Big 12 championship. Hopefully, we set the tone for what this program is supposed to be about, and that's championship baseball. So, that's kind of the, what we instilled in our legacy that we left for these guys.
Well, Troy, I want to bounce to current this season, what you've seen from these guys for a little bit, and then get here toward the end, really where you are now, and just an insight on your career. But with today's game, I know you got a chance to watch some of it. I tell you 3-0. It looks good for Baylor. Hayden Kettler is one of the best pitchers you got left out there for the Big 12 tournament with some injuries and COVID dealings. And 3-0 looks solid. Kettler's throwing well, and really the wheels fall off there late in the game.
Yeah, frustrating ending to honestly a very good season. Bears, projected 8th coming into the season. And I know if you would have told a lot of people that we were coming into last weekend with a chance to, be an at-large bid, I know a lot of people wouldn't have believed you. So they definitely exceeded expectations. Very young team. We've got a couple pieces that are, those super seniors like Andy Thomas and Tyler Thomas. But other than that, it's young, man. The future's bright. And if they do end up falling out of the regional bid, I'm very excited to see what they can do next season.
Troy, it's so interesting to me, the dynamic that these teams have with their conference tournaments, whether it be the Big 12, ACC, SEC. Just playing a conference tournament in baseball is so different for so many teams. You remember that run, the conference title run. What was that like for you guys? And really, what is the message, the strategy that goes into winning or being competitive in a conference tournament?
It's one game at a time. It's postseason baseball. And the hardest part is everybody's fighting for their life here. Everybody, knows that if they don't win, this season's over, and a lot of seniors on that team, that's the end of their run. They're never going to play baseball again. So that's what makes these conference tournaments pretty hard. You got careers on the line, and, people are going to fight for every single out. That conference run was absolutely, super special. I didn't pitch until the last game. I was right on the cusp of that save record, and I told myself, man, I'd much rather get that win and get that, conference championship than break that save record. And that's exactly what happened. And it was magical, honestly.
Troy, with that, we've looked at teams like Arkansas, Texas, even TCU to an extent that can go into their conference tournaments, lose 2 games, still be a national seed. And, a loss stings, but it really doesn't affect them that much. Going into a conference tournament, being a team that needs to win. You were a part of teams in the Big 12 tournament that needed to win the whole thing or win a few games to go to the postseason. How is the message different? How is the pressure different?
Well, I know my senior year, I feel like we were, we actually had a couple games over 500 in conference for the first time in since the Smith era. We were feeling pretty confident. We actually thought winning that tournament was going to give us a regional host site. And we were very surprised to learn that we hadn't gotten it. So that was the biggest thing, we knew, Baylor had not won a conference championship in school history. So the goal, the message that year was let's be the first team to do it, right? Whatever happens after that, whatever the committee decides to do, that's on them. But let's just be that first team to win that championship. That's what we were able to do. I think this year, they knew exactly what they needed. They knew their backs were against the wall, and just unfortunately, T-Tom and Blake Helton were both out, with some COVID and some injuries, and that's just unfortunate. That's just the way that it goes sometimes.
Tell me, Troy, with these guys that are still hanging around on the team that you played with, we joke on the show. At this point, Andy Thomas is like 34. He's got 4 kids. The guy has been playing baseball at Baylor for a decade, it feels like. You got to play with some of these guys on the team, still seeing them out there, but now as the senior leader that you were when they were there, what is that dynamic like?
It's fun watching them grow. They were young, wide-eyed, and very talented, but they just didn't have that experience. They didn't know how to be leaders. And just watching them over the last couple of years, it's going to be really sad watching a lot of those talented guys depart from the program because, they've been an absolute joy to watch. I don't know who's coming back next year. the whole COVID thing, who's got a chance to get drafted and all that stuff. But, if we do lose, a majority of those guys, I just want to say it's been absolute joy to watch those guys play.
Troy, on that note, you've got a guy like Luke Boyd, who has stepped into that closer role this season and has been All-American caliber. His ERA has not gone above 1.5. We talked to Coach Strauss earlier this week about how had Baylor's offense not been so good, Boyd would have had more save opportunities. There were just so many games where he either A, wasn't needed, or B, the team had 6 runs atop a team when he came in. A guy like Luke Boyd, watching him, what has that been like for you as a former closer?
Man, I'll tell you what, saves are such a team thing. You really want to say that, no, it's an individual stat, but it's really not. So many things have to go right for you to, just be in that position. The most save opportunities I had was 15 my sophomore year, and then it slowly dwindled down as the team got better because we're scoring more runs. So those games aren't as close anymore. We led the league in average this year. A lot of these games are very lopsided whenever we did win them, and Boyd just didn't get aligned when he did. It was fun watching my roommate Kyle Hill take that closer role, have an absolutely incredible All-American season. And Boyd did the exact same. It's kind of turning into closer U, and I think it's been really fun to watch. And I'm sure John Strauss is just having the time of his life, having closers come in and be successful like that.
On top of that, Troy, a guy in Tyler Thomas that really found his own this season, it felt like. Going into the year, there was a big question on who's going to be that guy for Baylor that steps into a Friday role and is consistent across the board. And T-Tom did that coming in the middle of the season. What makes him so good at what he does?
Well, he's had the talent. He's had the talent since freshman year, and he just didn't have it, between the years for a while. And that's growing pains of a freshman, sophomore. But at this point, he's logged so many innings. He has been there, done that, man. There's nothing that he hasn't seen at this point. He's been in, postseason games, regionals. He's had, faced a lot of adversity, and that comes, that experience really helps a pitcher grow. He took that and he ran with it, and he turned into an absolute stud for a Friday guy. You know what? If he didn't miss a couple of weeks for COVID, I don't see why he shouldn't have been first team All Big 12 this year.
Troy, with that, not just the individual pitching staff, but the team as a whole, whether it be the batters or that pitching group, when you look at their success in Big 12 play, what do you attribute that to? What made this team so good when they were at their best?
Experience, especially that staff, Kettler and T-Tom, like I said, been there forever. That bullpen, we had a great bullpen my senior year, and those guys that are there now were right under us, watching us, how we did it, how we prepared mentally and physically, and, how we were supposed to, stay healthy throughout a season. And that's the biggest thing. I know there've been some pains, there's been some struggles, but, thankfully for the most part, the staff has stayed healthy, and that's the biggest thing at this point in the year.
You talk about the older guys, and you look across the roster and see so many of them being staples in this lineup. And then you got guys like Jared McKenzie, Kyle Nevin, Trey Richardson, some of the young guys, the young blood that come in and have really performed this season. That dynamic of old and young has seemed to work so well for Baylor this year too. What do you see in those younger guys, Jared McKenzie being really the star of them, that have shown this season?
I mean, I like Jared since last year in a shortened season, and I told my dad, man, that's my new favorite player right away. I saw his first week, and I was sold right away. And he's blossomed into a star. Projected first round draft pick, in 2022, and there's no doubt that in my mind that's going to happen. But a lot of bright spots. Trey really came into his own this year. Started the year a little bit slow, but he really turned out to be a staple in that, middle of the infield. And Coach Rod does an excellent job, with bringing in players and developing those players once they get them in there. So, we're going to lose a lot of the bullpen, a lot of those old guys, those new old guys, they're going to be gone, but I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to be able to, fill those spots as needed.
Troy, across this season, you got the win at Texas Tech in Lubbock. There's the non-conference winning streak, the 4-series winning streak in Big 12. I mean, there are a lot of things you can point to what have made this team postseason contenders. For you, if you're in front of the committee making a case, then what is your case for Baylor baseball to move forward and play in a regional?
I mean, that series win against Texas Tech, obviously, it should be the staple of the year. And no team has done that since 2018. I found that to be a remarkable stat. We hated playing in Lubbock, honestly, man. That was, just that drive up there, and then that is such a, grueling ballpark, and those fans are absolutely just wear you down. So if anything, that's definitely what you got to hang your hat on. Taking a game in Oklahoma State, I think, I thought solidified our regional bubble berth, but unfortunately, we lost T-Tom in that OU series, and I think that really hurt us. I hope the committee takes a look at who we didn't have available and factors that into the decision as well.
Troy, then for you, I mean, an illustrious career at Baylor. I look at you started a game as a freshman, just how your role changed across your career at Baylor. I mean, was being a closer always where you wanted to be?
Absolutely not. No, everybody wants to come in and be the Friday guy, right? That's what get all the scouts' attention, and that's, where all the hype is at, is being the Friday guy. But you know what? I talk about this with my parents a lot, but that Tuesday start that I had, that one start I had in my career, went terrible. And I'm so glad that it did, because if I had a good start, maybe I would have gotten another one. Maybe I would have had another one. Maybe I would have been a starter in my career, and my career would have been absolutely different. But God is good, and it worked out exactly how it was supposed to. Because I didn't have a good start, they wanted me in that bullpen. And, with that new staff, they just wanted guys who had experience, and they threw me in that closer role. And, I just thrived in that. But it was exactly where I was supposed to be. And, it worked out from there.
When Coach Steve Rodriguez and Coach John Strauss came into Baylor, the California hippie guys from out west that were coaching this small school down in Texas, what was it like, the transition early on for you individually as a player?
It was a huge learning curve. There were a lot of things that we did my freshman year that, we just completely wiped the slate clean with and had to completely revamp, the way we train, the way we, our nutrition, everything was completely different. And the results showed on the field. The throwing programs, all that stuff, all that good stuff that Strauss brought into us, especially with the pitching staff. I know that Rod and his hitters got their own thing, and Coach Mike Taylor, and they do a fantastic job. And obviously, with the averages that are showing, they do a fantastic job. But just with the pitching staff, and there were a lot of new things. And, like I said, there were growing pains, but, every year got a little bit better. The numbers showed it. And, that I can attribute that to Strauss for sure.
Troy, you got to see Coach Steve Rodriguez build the foundation of a program and try to reset a culture at Baylor with the baseball team. For you, what is your confidence in Coach Rod, Coach Strauss, that they're going to a College World Series, they're going to have an illustrious career here at Baylor?
They get the right guys. They get guys that, not only are good on the field, but off the field as well. They were able to weed out some of the, not so good, things about what we had on the old team, and they got the right kind of people in there. They got, servant-hearted kids that want to be there and that want to help the program succeed. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just getting the right kinds of people there, and they have the right staff to do it.
Troy, for you then, being drafted to the Cardinals, second team all Big 12. I do want to start in that 2018 season for you. Coming into that year, being a senior, one of those older leader guys, what was it like for you to be looked to as a consistent player? I know a lot of guys, as a closer, the pressure is on because you're expected to perform no matter what every time you go out there, and you're a senior. Younger guys looking up to you. Just the pressure of that 2018 year. What was it like? How did you handle that?
You know what, man? I was just having a good time. My setup guy, Drew Robertson, and I, we made just like this little pact at the beginning of the year. Let's just have fun, man. Like, this is it. Who knows if we're going to get drafted? Like, I'm not sure, but let's just enjoy the ride. Let's just these games. We got 50 of them, so let's just have a good time while we're doing it. And the pressure off. Like I said, I was chasing that saves record, and that really kept my mind focused on what I needed to do. Obviously, it was a team thing. If I didn't get opportunities, I wasn't going to, at least tie that record. I got just enough. But yeah, that really made it, simplified it for me. It's just, a number that I needed to get, and whatever happened after that happened.
With you, Troy, you go first team All-Big 12, second team All-Big 12, and then drafted to the Cardinals organization. Your draft experience. Now, there are a lot of guys here on Baylor's team that are going to go through that here pretty soon. I've heard plenty of people say that it's hectic. It's different. There's no way to really prepare for it. What was it like from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I heard from, a dozen different teams, and the Cardinals were not one of them. I got a call from them the day before I got drafted that said, hey, we're probably going to pick you up. And I hadn't heard from them. I'd heard from other teams, for like the 2 months prior, and, they came out of nowhere. So yeah, it definitely is, hectic, but it's an experience I would never have traded,
And then Troy, going through the minor league process, kind of from that draft day in 2018 to now, where has life taken you? I know there are a lot of Baylor fans who maybe haven't been able to keep up and want to know where you are.
Yeah, I'm in San Antonio. I'm back home, and I work in healthcare. I work over at one of the hospitals here. I just cover some, different kinds of surgeries and stuff like that. Just trying to get back, and it's been crazy with COVID. You know what? But that's just what we're doing now. Had that one year in the minor leagues. That was very hectic. It was a very good experience. Like I said, I wouldn't have traded that, but I'm happy with what I'm doing right now.
Well, tell me, Troy, last question for you. Everything put together, I know it's so tough for a lot of guys to be able to keep up with Baylor and stay in the loop once they leave, alumni, whether they be athletes or not. For you, I mean, how much do you follow this Baylor baseball program, and what does really Baylor baseball mean to you?
I mean, it's family. I still stay in touch with guys. I'm texting T-Tom right now. We're just trying to keep up with the game, trying to keep up with what's going to happen. Hopefully he gets a postseason start. We're really hoping that the committee helps him out here. But these are lifelong friends, and I'm not ever going to forget. I definitely have kept up with them this season for as much as I can. I love Baylor sports. You know what? And that men's basketball championship, never going to forget that either. That was absolutely incredible. But yeah, Baylor baseball is always going to be family for me.
I love it. A proud alum. Troy, our Bear Games question of the day today has been so amazingly fun for those that have crazy answers, but yours may just be straightforward, because this question today is centered around Baylor baseball. We give it to all of our callers and guests, and that's, if you could play one position for Baylor baseball for one Baylor baseball team, whether it be 2012, 2018, all the way back to 99, which baseball team would it be and which position would it be? Again, this is like way more fun for the callers that didn't actually play for Baylor baseball, but we still have to give it to you.
No, you know what? I would have closed on that 2005 team. The dream was to go to Omaha, and they had the team to do it. To get that final out in our super regional that they hosted, to go to Omaha, I can't imagine a more surreal experience. That would have been amazing.
Well, I'll tell you what, Troy, if they would have had you in 2012, it'd be a second Omaha appearance 7 years later. One out away. But, hey, in the end, I'm sure Steve Rodriguez and Coach John Strauss will get him there. Troy, I want to thank you for joining the show today, giving us your perspective on Baylor baseball. Glad to know you're doing well, and man, just congratulations on everything. I know you had an illustrious career at Baylor, and good to know you're doing well still.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again. Again, Troy Montemayor, former Baylor closer, joining the show today, who really, he led the Bears in saves, first team All-Big 12, then second team All-Big 12, back-to-back in the junior and senior seasons, drafted in the Cardinals organization, working in healthcare now in San Antonio after a year in the minors. Baylor baseball falls today, final score of 9-4 against Kansas State in round 2 of the Big 12 tournament. And now we sit and wait. What will the verdict be from the committee? RPI-wise, looking across the board, you've already got a team in Fairfield that's going to make it in, probably as an at-large, as an RPI 3, losing in their conference tournament. You've got to cross your fingers, dot your I's, that everything goes as planned in the other conference. Like Conference USA has Old Dominion, Southern Miss, Charlotte, and Louisiana Tech, all RPI top 25. Conference USA. 4 teams, RPI top 25 from one of the smaller conferences out there. Old Dominion could even host. Outside of that, now Baylor, live RPI update. Baylor has been bumped to 43 with the loss against a team in Kansas State who is RPI not very good. Like, I'm looking right here trying to find Kansas State in the top 100, and we're treading water, even looking for Kansas State. There they are, 87. So 87 RPI who Baylor lost to today. Bears dropped to 43. They're now 31-20 this season. RPI number 42. So the team right above Baylor in the RPI. South Carolina Upstate. The team above SC Upstate is Virginia. So it's Virginia, South Carolina Upstate, Baylor, Georgia Tech, Nebraska. Nebraska already has an automatic bid in from the Big Ten. Nebraska's the number 45 team RPI in the country this season. That is the highest rated team for a Big Ten team. They will be the only Big Ten team, it looks like, to make it into the postseason. There's not another one that I can find that would be in there instead. Even Michigan right now is not a top 40 RPI team that I can find. So that bodes well for Baylor, the fact that Nebraska has an at-large, and it's going to come down again. You've got 31 teams that have automatic bids, 33 teams that get at-large bids. How many of those 31 teams will be from the top 40 RPI? And then past that, will Baylor be in that top 45 RPI to try to receive one of those 33 at-large bids? This is going to be hairy, really tough. I'm looking at out of those 31, maybe 15 are RPI top 40. So that means there's 25 left on the board out of the 33. Maybe. I mean, Baylor's right. Again, it is about as bubble as you can possibly bubble for the Baylor Bears right now moving forward. When we come back from this break, we're taking a break from baseball. Baseball losing again today to Kansas State 9-4. And we're going to talk some Baylor basketball as the draft is right around the corner. Declaration Day is May 29th, where guys have to decide whether or not they're going to the NBA draft or staying in college. Still nothing from Jared Butler. We haven't heard from Matthew Meyer. On the cusp of decision day, 2 days away, where are they going to go? And a guy like Mark Vital and Maceo Teague, what's their draft stock? What are their plans moving forward? How do they make it onto a professional roster? Kendall Kaut joins the show up next to fill us in on all of that and more. I'm Drake Toll. We got Armstrong Sims, Andrew Robertson, Marquise Cooley, and Jack McKenzie in studio today. When we come back, Kendall Kaut of Our Daily Bears joins the show to tell us, Jared Butler, what is he doing? Matthew Meyer, is he coming back? Mark Vital, Maceo Teague going pro. Who's transferring in? Who's transferring out? What is this Baylor team going to look like next year? Kendall Kaut, again, all that and more after this. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
History. Consider yourself made. Baylor tennis is rolling still as singles player Adrian Boiton took down 10-time All-American William Blumberg 6-4 and 6-1. While the doubles tandem of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law took down a number 3 doubles team in the nation and a monumental upset. This is the first time in program history that Baylor has participants in the Final Four in both singles and doubles. Boiton competes against number 2 player in the nation at 1 o'clock today, while Baylor's doubles team is scheduled to face number 4 at 5 p.m. On the diamond, the Bears just couldn't get things going yesterday against Texas Tech. The Red Raiders struck early against Baylor freshman Cam Cayley to go up 3-0 in the first inning before extending the lead to 8-0 before the 5th. While the Bears would string together a few runs in the middle of the contest, Tech rolled 11-4. The loss dropped Baylor to the losers brackets of the Big 12 tournament, where they meet Kansas State at 9 a.m. this morning in an elimination game. Baylor's best available pitcher, Hayden Kettler, started the game for the Bears. For game updates, follow at Baylor Baseball on Twitter. And track, 4 Baylor athletes advanced to the quarterfinals at the NCAA West Regional yesterday. And Howard Fields, Deshaun Jones, Eli Morse, and Damden Johnson. The women's team takes the stage today. Across the country, Maryland has extended women's basketball coach Brenda Fries to a contract through 2028. Fries has won title in 19 seasons at Maryland and reached 500 victories this season. And Drew Timme is staying at Gonzaga. The forward, who is known for his famous mustache, helped lead the team to the national title this past season, where he and his friends lost to the Baylor Bears. I guess he wants to have to go through that pain again because he got absolutely embarrassed. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red meat potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
No capes. Do you remember Thunderhead? Tall, storm powers. Nice man. Good with kids.
Listen. Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
China guy, snag on takeoff. Splashdown, sucked into a vortex. No capes.
Here's Drake Toll and Armstrong Sims.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Thursday, everybody. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful weather outside. Yes, Baylor baseball lost, but you know what? We're still having a good day because it's Jersey Thursday up in here. And NBA draft time. It's time to make some decisions. And we got Kendall Cowd on the show from Our Daily Bears today. Kendall, it's time to make some decisions, and some guys have not made decisions.
If you will, in an ode to what Reagan talking about, Barry Goldwater in 64, we were ready to give takes, and we were done with our last Reagan Goldwater take as well.
I tell you what, we are right there. This may even be more monumental than Reagan Goldwater, with Jared Butler, Matthew Meyer. You got the draft prospect of Mark Vital and Maceo Teague as those guys are trying to go pro. Those storylines have been huge all offseason, really overshadowed almost by the national championship. Those guys have flown a little bit more under the radar. For you, though, storyline-wise, what has been the biggest for Baylor men's basketball in the offseason when it comes to those guys that have NBA prospect?
Sure, I think Davion's going to get drafted pretty highly. He ranges somewhere in the 6 to 10 range. So I think that's a huge compliment to Baylor, that if he had left Auburn after his freshman season, he wouldn't have gotten drafted. If he had left after his sophomore year, might have tested well enough in his own testing. There would have been testing with the COVID situation hanging over the world. But I think his rise is probably the best thing for Baylor in terms of what they can sell to prospects in the future. But I think with the guys who might focus on a little bit more today, Drake, I think it's that Baylor should have at least 2 guys drafted, and they'll have multiple guys with a chance to play in the NBA.
Kendall, with that, I want to start with Matthew Meyer, who many have said, you had Paul Biancardi on the show pretty recently and said, listen, Matthew Meyer right now out of this entire team, the last day when it comes to, judgment day comes for NBA draft guys, of all the guys on the roster, he's got the best prospect right now. For him, though, he declared he's in there. A lot of these mock drafts have him really late second round, and he hasn't said anything about coming back yet. I mean, we are getting about as close as you can get. What do you make of Matthew Meyer not saying whether or not he's returning to Baylor?
Drake, if I were Matt, I'd go through the full process. They always say it takes one team to fall in love with you. But that's also kind of the same deal where, well, it does take one team to fall in love with you. You got to find your match eventually in the process. If you're Matt, the people who really, really love Matt are the analytics models. And if you hate data nerds, you can hate them for this if you want Matt to return to school. But John Hollinger, formerly a senior vice president for the Grizzlies, now writes for The Athletic, had formerly written for ESPN. Have you ever seen the statistic player efficiency rating, or PER? He's the guy that invented that one. So if you've been tired with Jordan LeBron debates and PER having its main role there, if you hate war in baseball, it's kind of basketball's version of a worse version of war there. But John Hollinger absolutely loves Matt Meyer, and it's not hard to see why. In the limited minutes he played this season, given Baylor's very talented roster, he excelled in those statistics. Then 6'9", can handle the basketball, shoots over 40%. With the way the league has moved toward wings and how there's kind of a dearth of wings in the league that are very high-level players, it makes sense why Matt would get the attention. But I've been a guy that has said since he was a freshman, he's followed the trajectory of Taurean Prince. So there's a good case that if he comes back, I think he could be a riser in the NBA, because the people who look at the analytics models might have a question about, well, if he only plays 15 minutes a game, how does he go from this role to a lead role? Ultimately for Matt, though, it's a decision where I wouldn't blame him either way. I don't know how the feedback will win out. I would guess a lot of draft team war rooms will say our analytics models love him. They really like talking with him because he's a fun guy to talk to and he's very candid when you speak with him. But a few people might say, well, there could be some benefits to coming back for a year. So it is a true decision for Matt Meyer.
Kendall, 2 of the biggest names out there in college basketball that folks were wondering what they would do being Hunter Dickinson and Drew Timme from Gonzaga and Michigan and Gonzaga. Those guys have both made their decisions. Dickinson saying, I'm going to the NBA. Drew Timme saying, I'm coming back. I thought, that Matthew Meyer, with those decisions, would be pretty quickly behind them, that or even right before them, but still nothing from him. Again, does this surprise you at all that he has taken this long?
It doesn't for me, Drake, because I think that those guys play a different position. So Hunter Dickinson, I think, is going through the process and could still go pro, but he hasn't signed with an agent in his announcement. And Drew Timme announced he's coming back. I think the difference for Matt is because he can play at the wing position, which is more valued than being a big guy who can't switch pick and rolls. He has a defined role in the NBA. So I think that's a little bit different for him and his perspective. So I think it's worthwhile for Matt to go through the process. Or maybe if you're Drew Timme, probably not a lot of good coming from the process. You just got to come back to school and show on the tape when you face a team with guards that are elite, maybe not a team as good as Baylor, but still elite guards, that you can defend them on the perimeter. And if you can't, a lot of big men like Joe Okafor dominated in college basketball. But in the modern NBA, if you can't defend in space, there's just not much of a role for you.
Kendall, along with Matthew Meyer and his draft decision and process, when you think about his possibility of coming back another year, how much would that behoove him? I mean, is that a move that's going to benefit him in the long run from your perspective?
I think it really could. There are examples, both pro and con, for returning or not returning. Some guys come back for their senior year, they find out they're not going to get drafted, and you want to cash the checks while they're still hot. I think the optimistic case for Matt coming back, and one that I am somewhat partial to, but I don't know his full situation, I don't blame him either way, is that I think if he returns, he'll be a predominant scorer on the team. I think it's pretty clear him and Adam Flagler will take the most shots next season, or at least framed that way. And I think if he can play that many minutes and have his offseason focus be that he's going to be a very good on-ball defender, maybe that's one of the questions about Matt. I really think he could rise in the NBA draft like Taurean Prince did. If Taurean had left after his junior season, I think he's probably a late second-round pick. He comes back, moves his way up into the lottery. Maybe Matt doesn't move all the way up into the lottery, but he has a real shot to move up like Taurean Prince did, like Corey Kispert did, like Buddy Hield did. He may not produce as much as Buddy Hield because his team won't rely upon him quite as much as the Hield team did, even though they had Isaiah Cousins and Jordan Woodard, who were good players. But I think that Matt has a real opportunity to move up in the draft, but I can't blame him either way if he says, I want to cash the checks now, or I want to wait a year to cash them.
Certainly preseason first team all Big 12, possibly all Big 12 player of the year. I know he'll be in that conversation in the preseason, at least if he does come back. On to Jared Butler. I know he's a guy that we've had a lot of conversations about on this show, just he's been pretty much silent since the national championship. You thought maybe after graduation he'd come out and say something, whether it be I'm staying or I'm going. From what you've seen, what is his best case scenario if he does declare for the NBA draft?
I think in terms of draft position, his best case that he might work his way into the lottery. Jared's biggest, I think, selling point, and when I talked to him in February, I just mentioned, hey, I'm not asking you what you're going to do with the NBA draft or anything like that, but I'm just saying if you do meet with the teams, you might want to remind these fools that you're a lot younger than your average college junior, right? Jared is not 21 years old yet. You mentioned Hunter Dickinson to start out with Drake. Hunter Dickinson is a freshman, is actually 3 months older than Jared Butler, a junior who has just graduated from college. And the analytics models that now dominate a lot of NBA draft discussions, age is a huge factor in those because the concern about your ceiling, and if you're younger, you can rise up more than somebody else. Well, with Jared Butler's ceiling being high, I think age is a big factor. And then the second one, I think might fly under the radar a little bit for Jared, is he decelerates so incredibly well. And that's an athletic skill that although Jared's not going to have the vertical leap that some guys will have that will go around him or even a little bit below him in the draft, his ability to stop so quickly is an athletic skill that's been undervalued in the NBA. James Harden, Luka Doncic. I'm not saying Jared's going to be one of the 15 greatest basketball players of all time like that duo might end up with, but the ability to decelerate is an athletic skill that I think is very undervalued right now. I think that's something that might stick out for Jared as he compares himself to other guards in the NBA draft.
Kendall, when it comes to Jared Butler, I mean, he's a culture guy. As culture as they come. I've been around a lot of basketball players that come through a program, they treat it as a job, they're getting to the NBA. For Jared, I see him at sorority events. He's hanging out with the fraternity guys. He's out at the Oso pool, chilling, shooting hoops with Matthew Meyer. He's a college kid. Like he thoroughly enjoys being at Baylor and being a college kid. And he has bought into the Scott Drew culture. With a guy like that, I mean, does that point to, hey, there is a chance that he does come back?
I would be absolutely shocked, Drake, if Jared Butler came back. I think when you've graduated from college, when you've won the most outstanding player at the Final Four, if you come back, you have to wonder, will the coaches in the league be idiots again and make Cade Cunningham player of the year? Why would they give it to you the next season when you're clearly were the best player in the league? That was a travesty on par with anything we've ever seen in humanity. We need a commission to investigate the results of that election more than any election in American history. That was absolutely an abomination that Cade Cunningham won that award. But I don't think, if it were me, I would not come back if I were Jared Butler. He might make a different decision. He might decide something differently. But if I'm him, there's just no way I'm coming back. When I've won the national title, I won the AP Big 12 Player of the Year. Shouts to the media on that one. The media gets attacked sometimes, but media did a good job there. And you've been the Big 12 Player of the Year. Like, I just don't know what you show next season that you haven't shown before, and you're a year older. You graduated from college. It's time to move on, I think, if you're Jared Butler, and I would go to the NBA draft if I were him. But if he decides to go a different route, he hasn't announced yet, you'd welcome him back if he decided to come back. But if I'm him, I'm definitely gone.
We're 48 hours-ish away from the deadline where guys have to officially declare for the NBA draft. If you are a guy, I mean, let me start here. Have you ever seen someone wait this long into the process to say, okay, I'm going to go to the NBA draft?
I think there are guys that sometimes wait a little bit longer. And Jared was a guy, I think, last season that waited until about the last day to return to school, which was longer than almost anybody waited to come back. So that's a sign that Jared often takes his time in the process. You can't really talk to agents ahead of time. So that would otherwise be a reason why he might wait a little bit to declare for the NBA draft. But look, crazy things happen in 2021. We don't know what caused COVID, whether it was that lab or somebody eating a bat or one of those other weird animals. So mysteries abound in society when things are strange, but I would be absolutely shocked if he elected to come back. I think the right move for him is to go pro, but people sometimes do wait a while. I know that always gives people a little bit more hope, but I would be pretty surprised if he elected to return. But play this clip back at me in a few days and be like, on Up-Tempo, Kendall looked like the dumbest man of all time. Shouts to Up-Tempo, they got him. And I'd be like, well, if I was going to get got, I'm happy I was got on Drake's show.
Well, I'll tell you, let me ask you this then. You know Jared very close. I know you said you haven't had that conversation, which I admire that you haven't asked him blatantly, are you staying or going? Because journalists that do that, when you call someone on your show on the cell phone, they have no idea they're on the air and they say something. That's the worst. That's the bane of my existence as a journalist. But for you, and I know you, again, for the folks listening, you haven't had that conversation with him where you've asked him blatantly. But if you were to guess, and this is complete speculation, but a percentage chance in your mind that he goes to the NBA right now, what would it be?
The percent chance that Jared Butler is not back at Baylor, and this is just a guess for me. It is not me, saying anything else. So again, play it back. And if I'm wrong, but I would say 99% that he is not back at Baylor. You hold out the 1% chance, but watch, there'll be an announcement literally while I'm talking that says he's returning to make me look like the dumbest man in America. But I think he's gone. But again, I haven't asked him directly, are you declaring for the NBA draft at the end of May? I haven't asked him that question directly, and I didn't ask him when I saw him earlier this month.
Kendall, is there any benefit to waiting this long in the process to declare or at least test those waters, or are you always going to be more benefited by declaring early and then coming back if need be?
I think it makes sense if you're him to maybe wait a little bit longer, talk with agents, see what's going on in the process, go through graduation. So he graduated, so that only happened a few weeks ago, which might have delayed his ability to speak with and talk with agents while he finished up his time in school, enjoyed the parade, did all of that. So I think it was a little bit different for him versus maybe some of the other guys that have declared nationally. So I think that makes sense to delay in the process. I don't read that as evidence he's definitely coming back, or that the odds improve for that. But again, I'm really setting myself up here, but I just don't think he's going to come back. So I'm ready to get dunked on. I don't think he's coming back. Quincy Miller once told us he was coming back and then didn't come back. So I'm always hesitant to say that anything's definitive in this game, but I would just be absolutely shocked if he elected to return. And I think it would be a kind of strange move to make.
Well, Kendall, now that Drew Timme has announced he's coming back, one can only assume that Butler will do the same just to clap him one more time in a national championship game. Let's hope so at least. But I do want to know, and this isn't even whether Jared Butler comes back or does not come back. There just feels like there's not enough room for everybody on this roster right now. I'm looking at my starting five: Akinjo, Flagler, Brown, Meyer, Thamba. And you still have coming in Sohan, who's going to be a star in the game as well. And then I'm missing, so I got Miller, Sohan, or Brown, Sohan, and Langston Love, Cryer, Turner, JTT, Danger, Thamba, Bonner, the list goes on. Are there too many cooks in this kitchen right now on this roster? What's going to happen this offseason to really dwindle down who's going to be a star next year?
Yeah, there are a lot of really good players on Baylor's roster, and it's pretty clear that at least a couple of guys who are good enough to play at other spots may not get quite as many minutes at Baylor, but they might elect to say the development that's happened at Baylor with all the guys that have gotten so much better, it's worthwhile to maybe sit out a year or play fewer minutes this season. I think LJ Cryer will probably play quite a few minutes in that listing of guys. I think that starting lineup makes a lot of sense. I also think it makes sense to maybe play LJ in the starting lineup and go with 3 guards. It might make sense to put John in the starting lineup. If Jeremy's ready to go right away, maybe he starts. A lot of different guys could start. There are so many permutations. I talked last season about, you could make arguments about, well, should Matt play more minutes? Should Mark actually?
Zach Randolph, to me, in the NBA, that just makes your life a living hell as a defender. And then a guy like Maceo Teague that uncharacteristic shot, yes, but as long as you can make it, come to the NBA and shoot it. Those two guys, where do you see them landing here in this offseason?
Sure. So I'll go with the order you went with, Drake. So Mark, I think 3 questions for him will be: first, his age, a little bit older, coming out of Louisiana and staying in school for 5 years. Second will be height. Does he actually measure in quite as high as listed by Baylor at the combine? Davion Mitchell and Jared Butler I've stood next to and are every bit as tall as they say. I haven't stood next to Mark in person, so I don't know if he's actually as tall. I've seen him from 20 feet away. But if he measures in at like 6'3" or 6'4", is that a little different than being 6'5" or 6'6"? And the third thing, and I think what will ultimately kind of frame, can Mark play in the NBA some days? Can he shoot threes? PJ Tucker, when he left Texas, couldn't hit a 3 at all, eventually developed the shot. If Mark can develop a 3-point shot, he's got a real chance to play in the NBA with how good he is as a defender. And as he will rightfully say, he's a very underrated passer. So I think that's the question. Can Mark develop a 3? If he can, I think he has a real shot to play in the NBA, and that'll kind of determine that. As far as Maceo Teague, I don't know that he'll play in the league right away. He's in the top 100 on Sam Vecini's draft board, but he has a little bit of that Royce O'Neal quality where he's so skilled at different facets of the game that I could see him breaking in 2 or 3 years. Maybe he goes to Europe, dominates over there, and they say, okay, this guy can do something unique. I think his very good wingspan, how he guarded power forwards, will stick out to teams as a guard who can switch on to bigs. So that becomes a more prevalent defensive system in the NBA. And I think the second thing that really could help Maceo out is, will there be a backlash to the era of increased three-point shooting in the NBA? And baseball's kind of gotten ruined by it's either a home run, a strikeout, or a walk. Basketball's had that three-point revolution where now every team, because of analytics, just wants to shoot a million threes. I like that style of play. There's a fair pushback that says, should we have more diversity in styles of play like there is in college basketball? I think if that happens, there might be a real pushback if they move the three-point line back, if they shrink the paint. If just something changes in the game, maybe how defenses are called, maybe how legal defenses ship, that really could happen. If you're Maceo Teague and you're such a good mid-range shooter, and the man works the glass more artfully than a ceramic artist, I think that kind of skill could become more useful in future years. With how diligent Maceo is in his work form, I think he might be a guy that plays in Europe for a couple of years. Maybe he plays in the G League for a year or two. But I think he's got a real chance to play in the NBA. And if he ever does rework that three-point shot, it's so effective, but he might want to get just a little bit quicker release. He does that. I think he's got a really, really good shot of being an NBA player someday.
Well, Kendall, I'll tell you this past Baylor team, national champions, so much pro prospect on the squad. And I think, storylines abound for everything they've done with the national championship and now these guys and where they'll end up pro-wise. We got 48 hours. You're on the clock with the Jared Butler stuff. I mean, I've got it clipped and ready no matter what happens. You're either a genius that called it on this show, or we've been 50-50 on it, or we just, I tell you what, hopefully your bosses aren't watching from ODB.
I have really put myself out there for that. I think he's going to go pro, but you got the clip ready, and I'm like, Drake, you do go to school with him, so it will be funny if you're like, well, no, I saw him at a party. He told me he was coming back, and I'm going to be like, oh, geez, Drake, you set me up to get got on this one, but I'm setting myself up to get got.
To get got. I love it. Well, I'll tell you, I have not seen him at any parties recently, or no Bible studies either. It's been summer, so we're all chilling. If I did, I probably wouldn't have asked him, or maybe I would have. Well, who knows? Who knows? But we'll find out in the next 48 hours. Kendall, our Bear Games question of the day today. We're around baseball. Baseball's going on right now. We've been talking a bunch of Baylor baseball. If you could play one position on the baseball field for Baylor in one certain season, whether it be that 2012 run, the 2005 World Series, 2018 Big 12 Championship, which year are you playing and which position?
So do I get to be good at the position? It's not like I have to play the position with.
You are first team All Big 12, possible AVCA All American.
Excellent, because I was like, if you just took me and put me on the team, it would be a catastrophe for America. I would play on the 2012 team. I liked the slogan, Feed the Beaver. It was a fun slogan to have had back then. So I appreciate that. I never bought a t-shirt that had that phrase on it. And it's a regret that I think about every day of my life, which also might show that my priorities are way out of line. But I think I'd play in that era, and I think it'd be a DH because I think it would just be cool to only have to hit and then just, hang around in the dugout all the time and be like, I'm going to hit some dingers when I come up to bat, which also might show that maybe I'm not as enthusiastic about baseball as I should be. But DH, I think would be really cool. Then you get in fights with the National League fans and say, this is real baseball. I'm real baseball.
I love it. Lock it in. DH on the 2012 team, hopefully taking that team to the College World Series, which just an out away. Feed the Beaver. That series is the reason I came to Baylor. That super regional. So, one of these days they'll make the World Series again, hopefully soon. Kendall, I want to thank you for joining us, giving your NBA perspective on these guys moving forward, and we'll see with Jared Butler.
Heck yeah, always a pleasure, Drake.
I love it. Again, Kendall Cat of Our Daily Bears joining the show today. When we come back, we're joined by Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law, Baylor's double pairing, who's in the Final Four. That's coming up after this break. That was Kendall Cat, ODB, talking Baylor basketball. Don't go anywhere. The doubles tandem of Baylor men's tennis joins us next. This is Up Tempo.
History. Consider yourself made. Baylor tennis is rolling still as singles player Adrian Boiton took down 10-time All-American William Blumberg 6-4 and 6-1, while the doubles tandem of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law took down a number 3 doubles team in the nation and a monumental upset. This is the first time in program history that Baylor has participants in the Final Four in both singles and doubles. Boiton competes against number 2 player in the nation at 1 o'clock today, while Baylor's doubles team is scheduled to face number 4 at 5 p.m. On the diamond, the Bears just couldn't get things going yesterday against Texas Tech. The Red Raiders struck early against Baylor freshman Cam Cayley to go up 3-0 in the first inning before extending the lead to 8-0 before the fifth. While the Bears would string together a few runs in the middle of the contest, Tech rolled 11-4. The loss dropped Baylor to the losers brackets of the Big 12 tournament, where they meet Kansas State at 9 a.m. this morning in an elimination game. Baylor's best available pitcher, Hayden Kettler, started the game for the Bears. For game updates, follow at Baylor Baseball on Twitter. And track, 4 Baylor athletes advanced to the quarterfinals at the NCAA West Regional yesterday. And Howard Fields, Deshaun Jones, Eli Morse, and Damden Johnson. The women's team takes the stage today. Across the country, Maryland has extended women's basketball coach Brenda Fries to a contract through 2028. Fries has won title in 19 seasons at Maryland and reached 500 victories this season. And Drew Timme is staying at Gonzaga. The forward, who is known for his famous mustache, helped lead the team to the national title this past season, where he and his friends lost to the Baylor Bears. I guess he wants to have to go through that pain again because he got absolutely embarrassed. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. It's been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll for a Baylor take on your lunch break.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den today. Happy Thursday, everybody. May 27th, 1 o'clock hour, rounding it out today. But 2 o'clock for these guys from sunny Orlando, Florida. coming out of nowhere to make the Final Four in the doubles, the individual tournament titles for men's tennis. Again, Orlando, Florida, you guys look a little bit more tan. Constantine, you especially than the last time we talked to you. What has it been like? Connie, we'll start for you being in Orlando for all of about a month and a half now.
I mean, it's been a hell of a ride since we arrived here 15 days ago. I mean, we lost in the national team championship final on Saturday night. And, yeah, now we're back to the Final Four in the individual tournament and doubles. And, yeah, it's been really fun in Orlando. Good weather. And, yeah, we can't really complain about it.
Sven, for you, man, I mean, you guys go team championship, and you're running through the Elite Eight, the Final Four title, all there in consecutive days. I mean, just back to back to back. How much does that take out of you as an athlete to have to do that? It just constant wear and tear on you.
I think it's more, at this point, it's more mentally than physically. We worked hard the whole season, got prepared for, going through the NCAA tournament, which we all know is going to be very physical. We got all the way to the end. Fortunately, we didn't get the chip, but I think, we were happy to be there, had an opportunity to compete in a final. And like I said, it's that first match on Monday, I think was the hardest, at least for me. Just kind of mentally battling through that loss. Didn't really want to be out there, but luckily I'm playing doubles, so I have someone else to play with me. And I told to myself and my girlfriend that I'm not gonna play for myself this tournament. I've been here, I played it. We were all Americans, so we didn't really have anything to compete for. But I kind of set my mind, I'm gonna play for Connie. It's his last tournament, and basically any match could be our last. So that's what I'm playing for.
Connie, for you on the other side of that, you go through the wear and tear again of that team tournament where you're vying for a national title, and then you go straight from the championship game to having to compete in another bracket in doubles. What is it like? I mean, does your mindset change at all when you flip from team championship to playing doubles and trying to compete for that title?
I mean, as Sven said, I was super hard. The first and second round was so hard, mentally, just to get up and compete again, because Saturday night was really rough for us and for the entire team, because our goal was to win the ship. And I mean, at the end, we didn't get it done, and it was still a hell of a season. And I mean, especially after the first round, we kind of told ourselves, okay, let's get the ship in the dubs. That's my last chance. And yeah, my last chance was Sven to compete in a college tournament. And yeah, and every day could be my last match as a Bear.
Tell you, Sven, for you guys getting to go to the national championship, I think it's overlooked that Tennessee match that you guys played was so tough and down to the wire, trying to make your way into the national championship. How worn out do you guys get by the time you're through that Friday match? Because I know that Tennessee match took everything out of you.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think that particularly that Tennessee match, nothing went our way at the end. Adrian had a bunch of match points, couldn't finish. We were battling in all singles matches to get to that point. Mahati had his chances to kind of finish early, didn't get it done. And I felt like literally a miracle was happening for Tennessee to kind of just stay in it, for them to keep battling. And unfortunately, we were lucky enough to finish it. But something that, maybe, most of the people don't know is after that match, we had to go out there at 8:30, 8:45 p.m. to practice under the lights, because up to that point, we played about, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock every day since the Sweet 16. And then in the final was at, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. So totally different conditions, different environment, no wind at that point. And we've been playing, like I said, in much different conditions. It was very hot, sunny, windy. And then we go in the final and they schedule us for, basically a night match, which was completely different, especially in an environment like this where they basically had a home advantage. And so I think that was one of the toughest things for us as a team to kind of adapt, go out there after a very, very physical match and go out there for another 30 minutes when all you want to do is just basically lay in bed and relax and, prepare for a match like that. So I think that was the toughest thing.
Constantine, for you to be on the biggest stage in tennis and now getting your chance in your last year. I mean, say you guys would have lost to TCU or Tennessee, your career would have been over, no chance to play in the title, but you got all the way to that point. What was that like? Just the pageantry and the feeling of playing on the nation's biggest stage in your final season.
That was the reason why I came to Baylor when I was 18, just to be in a final like that. So, that's a hell of an accomplishment from all of us, and it was a dream of mine to always play in a national final. And we did pretty well. Even though we lost in the final, it was just a couple points away from winning that match if you look really closely to the scores. And it means the world to me. Even though we lost, I would rather lose with anybody else. Lose with anybody else than those guys.
Sven, now moving into doubles, you guys being number 9 in the country were not expected to make it even to the Elite 8, much less this Final Four national semifinal. I got to tell you, yesterday was a really, really bad day to be William Bloomberg. Probably not the outcome he was looking for in singles or doubles, but you guys knocked off the number 3 doubles squad in the nation. This seems like an unbelievable run for both of you guys.
Yeah, no, all credit to Will. He had a crazy career. Looking at his results, I think he's been one of the most consistent players out there. 10-time All-American, the only guy to ever do it. We probably won't see anyone else do it if that's what would be my guess. But yeah, we just play hard. We got the first set. On that little, little slip on their side at the 5-4 when they served, and we were able to get that first set. And then I think in the second set they just kind of went for it. Everything went their way, similar to the match before that we played against Oklahoma State guys. Nothing was going well for us. We lost 17 more points and ended up winning that match. And yesterday we lost one more point and we still ended up winning, which is something in tennis that can happen, but it's not very usual. And so we're, just very fortunate to get to this point. And I think, Connie put a lot of work in doubles throughout his last season. I think it's showing off right at the end where, obviously we all hope to play our best tennis, and for him to come out and, mentally battle through, I think it's one of the most just exciting things for me to kind of move forward with. And hopefully next year, I'll be in the same position where I can play either in singles or doubles at the same spot.
Connie, you got to see a really good competitor in that number 3 North Carolina group, and now you're facing a team that's ranked even lower than them in the national semifinal in the number 4 squad in Pat Harper and Adam Walton from Tennessee. A couple of Tennessee guys. You guys have just played as a team Tennessee a couple of days ago, and now you've got number 4 today. What is that match going to look like?
It's a rematch because we lost to them on Friday afternoon to them on a really close match. We both are really looking forward to it, to get the rematch and hopefully, beat them this time. But yeah, it's going to be tough. They're 4 in the nation, and we can kind of go play free in there because they have to win because they're the highest seed. And yeah, as you already said, we shouldn't even make it to the Elite 8.
Why stop now, obviously? And Sven, I mentioned it yesterday. It's the same thing for Adrian Boiton, who also beat Bloomberg yesterday. For a guy like that is number 21 coming in, I'm looking at the semifinals guys left. Nobody outside the top 10 except for Adrian. Him going into that Final Four, how unexpected has that been, and how has that kind of helped motivate you guys?
I think, looking from the rankings, you're right. It's very unexpected for him and us to be in this spot. But to be honest, I think when Adi's healthy, when Adi's fresh, which he's not right now, so that's a miracle that he's in this position playing right now or about to. I think he belongs here. I think he belongs to the top. He's one of the best college players at the moment, and he's proven it. I think, he had a very good end of the season. Unfortunately, in NCAA tournament, he didn't finish, if I believe. But he was in a good spot to win all of those matches. I think, he's a great teammate. He works day in, day out. A great tennis player, and I feel like, rankings maybe don't necessarily prove that, which, in college tennis, there's a little speculation if rankings are actually fair or not. But we started as a team. I think we started as a 15th team in the nation. Ended up, at some point we were number one. I think we're gonna finish second after the loss. But I feel like sometimes the rankings are not necessarily fair, just because of the system that there is. But Adi definitely belongs there. But it is a miracle based on how many matches he's played, how many 3-set matches he played. I think it was 6 in a row, something like that. And, for him to go out on Sunday after, we were awake until like 4 a.m., he went out there the same day, same as Matthias. Unfortunately, he didn't get it done, but Adi to just kind of battle through. I mean, it's unreal. I think all credit to him. And, we all know that he's mentally capable of something like that, but sometimes he doesn't believe it. I think yesterday was one of those things where he proved himself and others that, after being so drowned, and he, all he wanted to go basically was just go on a flight and go back to Waco. But somehow he managed to stay out there and be one of the best guys.
Connie, for you, it's a little bit different. I mean, Sven can win a title this year, come back and do it all again next year in the doubles, the singles, and Adrian the same thing. But for you, this is your last go-round, your last ride. How has that helped you approach this differently, or have you approached it any differently than years past?
I mean, I feel like this year it's more like I'm enjoying every single day, every single practice. I'm just going day by day. And especially in my first 2 years, I had the mentality like, I have 2 more years, so I still have time. But the time just went by like this, like super quick. And now it's, coming to an end at some point. So I'm just, enjoying every day with the guys, with my coaches, staff members. Just, right now it's actually every hour because at any moment it can be done. So,
wow. Sven, for you, playing with a now Baylor legend and Jimmy Bendeck in the doubles, and next thing you know, they stick you with Big Connie. How different has it been competing with Constantine? And not only that, you guys are now in the national semifinal. Like, who saw this coming?
Yeah, I think Jimmy would be the first one actually to say that we belong this place. He doesn't believe that there's a better team out there than us. And so something like that to come, he's basically one of our best friends. I can say the same for Connie. And, when he says something like that, it obviously gives me a lot of confidence, some motivation to prove him that we actually do belong here. Like, he's not just saying something to just say it. But I think it's a little different dynamic. Connie obviously has a better serve, so that makes my job easier. But there was things that worked with Jimmy well. But obviously, me and Connie have played now. If last season would have not ended it the way it did, it would be our second season together. We had a lot of success last year until it ended for COVID, and I think just coming in this season, we struggled at the beginning a little earlier when Connie was not here because of the fall. And it took us, quite some time to kind of figure out things, how to play well together again. And like I said, we're playing our best tennis when it's the most important. And, we're just enjoying it, like he said.
Connie, for you, you were stuck with Will Little, this guy from the middle of nowhere in Missouri. And now, you being from Germany, got a guy alongside you that knows the Europe game well. You go from a partner from Joplin, Missouri, to Sven Law. What is that like, having to readjust, have a new doubles partner, and having the success you've had so far?
I think it was actually Johannes Schretter, who I played with in my junior year.
That one goes to, that right there goes to the Baylor website for steering me wrong. I won't take credit for that one, but thank you for correcting me.
We always played at number 3 doubles, And I think we could have played higher. It was just like we never played in the fall, so we never got a ranking. And we actually, I think, went like 22-1 in that season, had one loss. I mean, with Yo-Yo was super fun because we both spoke German, but now I feel like the dynamic with Sven is even better. Like we're, I would say, a little bit closer off the court than I was with Yo-Yo, because I mean, I had the time to spend, like more time to spend with Sven, like over the last 3 years now, and I knew Yo-Yo just a little bit more than 2 years. So yeah, I think, and we had more time like to practice and to compete, because we started in the fall 2019 and now are still playing. And yeah, I mean, I think it's been a hell of a ride with Svenny.
And you got it, the semifinals today, both you guys. I've got one last question for you, and I want to thank you for giving perspective on this season and really what this ride has been like. My last question surfaces around Coach Michael Woodson, the head coach of this team, and what he's been able to do. I know that it's been a weird road to get Woodson as the head, to have Woodson as the head coach, but obviously springing you guys to a national championship is unprecedented. Sven, first for you, I mean, what does Michael Woodson mean to this program? How vital has he been to this season?
I mean, obviously he's one of the major pieces for the puzzle that we have. I think, more importantly, as a coach or as a staff member or just a part of the team, I think, he could be easily our second father, not just for me, but for most of the guys here that have been here for, 2, 3, 4 years. For me, he's the only coach that, and also for Connie, he's the only coach that has been with us since we got here. Everybody else kind of either joined later or, departed earlier. And so I think, that tells a lot. I think, throughout 4 years or 3.5, 4 or 5 years, whatever you've been here for, you can build a relationship, obviously. And so something like, like for him to just kind of come in with, a bunch of good guys with a lot of expectations and high goals and higher standards, I think he managed it really well. Kind of set the tone for the leadership that he's provided, and it kind of goes top to bottom. If it wasn't for him, I think with his guidance and his help and his time and effort, I think, none of us would have played, or we wouldn't have been playing on the final in NCAAs. And I think, all credit to Michael to just kind of find a way. I think, him being a head coach at Valpo definitely served him well for what he's in it now. But I think, it was a hell of a job from him. And hopefully to many years.
Connie, for you, same question. You got Michael Woodson at the helm of this program now, and you've been here a long time. To see him step up into that role, take you guys to a national championship in year one, what is your relationship like with Coach Woodson, and is he just primed for success for years to come here at Baylor?
So we arrived actually on the same day, like 5 years ago. So, I mean, Mike and me have been through a lot, faced a lot of diversity, and I mean, we had 2 different head coaches before him. So now him being the head coach, I mean, means not just the world to me, but everybody on this team, especially to the guys who's been here, like Matti and Sven. I think these are the only guys who had 2 different head coaches since they've been at Baylor. So for us, I mean, it's just amazing to see him like being the head coach and just kind of helping us, leading the way, like all the way up to the number 1 in the nation. That was always like we tried to achieve, and we achieved that this year. Another goal was to win the national championship, and I mean, he helped us to like get us to the final, and Baylor hasn't been to the final since 2005. So all the credit goes to him, because especially in my first 2 years, I mean, we made it once to the Sweet 16, and then in my second year, we lost in the second round. So, I mean, I think without him, we wouldn't have made it that far this year. And now having Adrian and us in the Final Four in the individuals, like all the credit goes to him and his coaching staff, to Isaac, George, to Emily, to Coach Wenger, like the people he like basically took on board with him to right the ship. And all the credit goes to him, and he's not just a coach, like he's our second father, as Svenny said, and it's just so much fun like to be around him. And I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it a lot.
Wow. Well, to both of you guys, best of luck today. I know you're competing here pretty soon in the national semifinal. You already beat number 3. I say you guys just go out there, beat number 4, take it to a national championship, and win this one. What do you say? Like those odds?
Yeah,
that's the plan.
I love it. Both of you guys, thanks so much for coming on today. It's a pleasure to have you, and best of luck this afternoon.
Thanks, Drake. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Again, Sven Law and Konstantin Franzen joining us from Orlando, Florida today, playing in the national semifinal in doubles against a pair from Tennessee, a rematch from the Tennessee guys. They joined the show today. So coming up after this, and those guys, again, you can follow along on Baylor. Do want to say Baylor men's tennis Twitter. Follow along with their matchup this afternoon. We've got Shahan Jayaraja coming up right now with J.D. PicKell. J.D. from Jamaica did a little something for us to get this put together, and talking some college football, Baylor football as well. Coming up on the other side of this break, Drake Toll, Armstrong Sims. We've got Andrew Robertson, Marquise Cooley, and Jack McKenzie in studio today. When we come back, J.D. PicKell with a one-on-one. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
History. Consider yourself made. Baylor tennis is rolling still as singles player Adrian Boiton took down 10-time All-American William Blumberg 6-4 and 6-1. While the doubles tandem of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law took down a number 3 doubles team in the nation and a monumental upset. This is the first time in program history that Baylor has participants in the Final Four in both singles and doubles. Boiton competes against number 2 player in the nation at 1 o'clock today, while Baylor's doubles team is scheduled to face number 4 at 5 p.m. On the diamond, the Bears just couldn't get things going yesterday against Texas Tech. The Red Raiders struck early against Baylor freshman Cam Cayley to go up 3-0 in the first inning before extending the lead to 8-0 before the 5th. While the Bears would string together a few runs in the middle of the contest, Tech rolled 11-4. The loss dropped Baylor to the losers brackets of the Big 12 tournament, where they meet Kansas State at 9 a.m. this morning in an elimination game. Baylor's best available pitcher Hayden Kettler started the game for the Bears. For game updates, follow at Baylor Baseball on Twitter. And track, 4 Baylor athletes advanced to the quarterfinals at the NCAA West Regional yesterday. And Howard Fields, Deshaun Jones, Eli Morse, and Damden Johnson. The women's team takes the stage today. Across the country, Maryland has extended women's basketball coach Brenda Fries to a contract through 2028. Fries has won title in 19 seasons at Maryland and reached 500 victories this season. And Drew Timme is staying at Gonzaga. The forward, who is known for his famous mustache, helped lead the team to the national title this past season, where he and his friends lost to the Baylor Bears. I guess he wants to have to go through that pain again because he got absolutely embarrassed. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Alan Samuels is celebrating the Jeep Memorial Day sales event. It's an exciting time for the Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with up to $37.50 in values or 0% for 72 months. Jeep Cherokee Laredo, built tough as nails, and up to $37.50 in values or 0% for 72 months going on now. Jeep, a great SUV. Alan Samuels, the award-winning customer service Central Texas dealer. The best place to get your next SUV. Located at 201 West Loop 340. Alan Samuels is your friend in the car business.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Booze Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Paulie, give me some of your tots. No, go find your own. Come on, give me some of your tots.
No, I'm freaking starved. I didn't get to eat anything today.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Brian, don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with Dave all day.
Your place for a Baylor take on your lunch break. Here's Drake Toll.
And welcome back into Up Tempo. We are right now joined by a very special guest, Shahan J. Raja of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. He's the college insider there, meaning he covers everything college football in the great state of Texas, which is not a small task by any means. First of all, Shahan, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing fantastic. We're right in the middle of magazine season, so it's a busy time for us, but, it's a fun time, right?
Yeah, I would imagine that, working at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, I'm sure there's no shortage of excitement, especially with all that's going on right now with Sam Houston having won the national championship. Was that just anarchy for you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I was back there over on Sunday. It was an incredible game. The first half of the game for people who didn't watch was just absolutely rain-soaked. Nobody could really do much of anything. And then all of a sudden they go into break, they come out. And look, my thought was Sam Houston, they've got a very explosive passing offense in addition to a great running game, great defense. I thought if they could get something going in the passing game, if things kind of dried down a little bit, they'd have a real good shot to win the game. And you see them coming down. They score a game-winning touchdown with 15 seconds left. Listen, that's what championship dreams are made of, right? Is the opportunity to throw a game-winning touchdown like that.
Man, it was awesome. We had Garrett Rose on the program not too long ago, the crying Sam Houston State fan. And it was just embodying the fanhood that is only found in the state of Texas. And now speaking of, I guess, hopefully championship aspirations, maybe we get ahead of myself. You're a Baylor alum, is that correct?
Yes, back in 2016.
Okay, good, because I just want to make sure. I know we're probably going to get some some heat here for potential bias. Like, that's out there. He's a Baylor alum. We can talk about it. We're not hiding from that. But, man, just right off the bat, what are your thoughts on the spring season wrapping up here? I mean, I don't know how much you can really put into a spring with a new staff, but what were some of your takeaways?
Yeah, well, the first thing that I'll say is that I thought that Dave Aranda was a lot more decisive after what happened last year than I thought that he would be. I mean, especially, I think it would be very easy for him to just write everything off as a COVID year. But you know, he was very decisive right from the start that, you know what, we're going to go out there, we're going to try to fix things. We kind of feel like, obviously with the offensive staff, you know, that things didn't really come together. And actually, I had a great chat with him for the magazine, for the Baylor preview, and might have a piece coming out in addition to that. And, you know, one thing that really got to me was he was very willing to admit when he was wrong. You know, he felt like what we were trying to do last year on offense, especially, we tried to run a lot of inside zone. We tried to, you know, really build our offense around that. And looking at the way the Big 12 plays defense, it's just not a good fit. And so he was willing to say, we're going to get rid of Larry Fedora, who's obviously a very well thought of offensive coach. We're willing to get rid of George Munoz, who was a big hire for Baylor. And we're willing to get rid of Joe Wickline, who, again, a longtime veteran offensive line coach. We're willing to take a chance. We're going to bring in a guy from BYU who obviously had a lot of success last year, but not at this level. And so I think that everybody just feels in that program, they just feel very aligned in a way that I don't think that they did through a lot of last season. And you know, I think that's really showed up in practice. I think that, you know, this doesn't feel like a team that just came off of 2-7. I think that that everybody's still very confident, very excited about what they've got there. And look, the problem is not talent. I think we all know that after seeing Baylor, you know, go 11-1 not that long ago. So I'm pretty excited about what Dave Aranda has been able to do this spring. It has to translate to the field, obviously, and I think we're going to face as tough of a Big 12 as any in this upcoming season. But I think Baylor's in a good spot.
I'm so glad you said that. The fact that he cleaned house after year one at least communicated to me, hey, we want to win now. We're not just trying to rebuild. Like, he wants to win next season. And there's a lot of murmurs, I feel like, especially after 2-7 season of, can he be a head coach? Does he have the personality to be a head coach? What was your assessment of that in the spring? You touched on that a little bit, but is he the guy for Baylor?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, right? I mean, he is as different a head coach as I've ever talked to. I mean, really, at any level almost. I mean, he's kind of a normal dude. He's very much an introvert. He's very thoughtful. I mean, you know, one thing, I don't want to give too much away, but, you know, one thing that he told me was that, you know, when he went and was a grad assistant over at Texas Tech, you know, a lot of grad assistants, when you're coming up through the college football world, you major in sports management or kinesiology or, you know, something very easy, right? Well, Dave Aranda majored in philosophy or got his master's in philosophy. So, I mean, that's not what you're usually asking your coaches who coach under Mike Leach. You know, that's not usually what you're thinking. And so I thought that kind of just said a lot about him. You know, he's a very thoughtful guy. And yeah, I mean, I think that there isn't a model necessarily for Dave Aranda. I mean, a lot of people have said Tony Dungy, maybe there's something there with that. But I think he's kind of his own man, you know, in a lot of ways. And, you know, the one thing that I'll say is that I think that not being that rally the troops type like Matt Rule was, I think that you have to lead a different way. And I think it has to be built through long-term relationships. I think it's about hiring people around you who, first of all, you believe in, but also believe in you. And I think that it's being very clear and communicating very well about what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that he's doing the work to do that. Now, again, that didn't happen last season. I mean, again, the margin for error when you kind of have that kind of strategy, in my opinion, is a little smaller than kind of, you know, getting a guy who everybody's going to run through a wall for, right? But I think that that's a formula that I think is going to be a long-term success if he's able to pull it off. You know, I think it's a foundational thing. I think it requires you from 1 through 85, from every staff member to be on the same page. I think he's willing to put in the work to do that. And so, look, I think that you look at last year, and I mean, when things go wrong, they go wrong. But I think that he's doing a lot of things right in terms of building the foundation there.
I'm so glad that you juxtapose Matt Rule kind of being that fiery personality, very outspoken, kind of the rah-rah guy, and then you have the philosopher with Dave Aranda. How have you seen that impact his recruiting? Obviously, it's been serviceable in the transfer portal as of late, just picking up a big commitment from Jacob Gall in the grad transfer fashion. What is your assessment of him as a recruiter as it pertains to that?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I thought that they've been very kind of ahead, if that makes sense. I think that they have gotten to guys really early, and I think the rule staff did a really good job of this too in a different way. But I think that they've really identified very quickly what they want. I think they're willing to go to untraditional places to get it. I mean, going to Alabama to get a quarterback when you're in the state of Texas, that's pretty unusual, right? I mean, that's not something that most programs in the state of Texas are doing, especially kind of being as decisive as they were that, like, this is our guy, right? And so I think in a lot of ways, they're looking for their archetypes. They're looking for guys who fit what they want. They're looking for guys who they believe in, both on and off the field. And I think, look, I think Baylor long-term, to kind of be the type of program that Dave Aranda wants them to be, they are going to have to start winning some of these battles that they're not winning right now, right? But that's a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, sort of thing, right? I mean, Matt Rule didn't win all those battles in year 1. You really saw when he got to year 3, okay, all of a sudden some people are interested, right? And so I think it's been an interesting build. I think they're looking very developmentally. And, another thing that he kind of mentioned, again, Dave Aranda is such an interesting person to talk to. He kind of juxtaposed the two places that he worked at before, LSU versus Wisconsin. And, LSU is a plug-and-play type league, right? I mean, you get the athletes, you plug them in, they go. At Wisconsin, you're kind of trying to build guys up. And obviously, you're kind of going for mass, with these Midwestern kids. And at Baylor, I think he kind of feels like he can kind of do something in between. He wants to get these kids who have the physicals there, and he wants to build them into better football players. So I think that they're really starting to find their stride in terms of finding those guys. Again, to compete with the Oklahomas, the Texas A&Ms in the state, you got to win some of those big battles too. But I think that in terms of building, again, the type of roster 1 through 85 that you need to be able to be competitive in college football, I think he's off to a great start.
And it feels like that great start is being perpetuated by the transfer portal with the additions of Grant Miller from Vanderbilt. And now, like I mentioned, Jacob Gall from Buffalo. I personally was anti-transfer portal to begin with on the offensive line because I was like, hey, you already missed spring. That's a lot to ask a kid to come in here to a new scheme, a new system, and these 15 practices behind all these guys. How big a get was it to have a guy from Buffalo who's already been in the wide zone scheme? And I mean, how huge is that to get a guy like Jacob Gall who is coming so highly touted?
Right. And I think that you mentioned that, right? The scheme changing, and you've got a guy in Jacob Gall now who is one of the only players on the whole roster who knows how to play this scheme, especially on the offensive line. And, talking to Jeff Grimes over the offseason, one thing that's very clear is that, it takes a certain type of lineman and it takes a certain type of mentality to play that wide zone scheme. You don't have to be big. You don't have to be strong. Those are nice. Obviously, you want all of the characteristics in an offensive lineman, but what you want more than anything is decisiveness and mobility. And I think that Jacob Gall, he was rated the #1 left guard in America by Pro Football Focus. That's a big deal. I mean, and what Pro Football Focus, what they're looking at is they're looking, hey, this is what you were asked to do on this play. Did you execute it at a high level, right? I mean, that's what they judge players on. And so, with Jacob Gall, he's moving laterally at a very high level. He's getting to the second level in these run schemes at a very high level. And actually, I mean, people hear Buffalo, right? They don't think great football, but this was one of the best run teams in all of America this past year. They went 6-1. They had Jared Patterson, who was a borderline All-American after rushing for nearly 150 yards a game. I mean, this was a great offensive line, and he was the highest rated run and pass blocker on it. So I think to add a guy like that to Baylor's lineup, look, I mean, there's going to be an adjustment just getting used to that level. The good news, right, is that you got Siaki Ika in practice to kind of go against to get used to that. But I think that he's going to be somebody who's going to slot right in as a starter, either at left guard or at center, and have a chance to be an instant contributor for an offensive line that, I mean, again, talking to the staff over the summer, they need some guys to step up.
And it felt that way all season long was, man, we can't even get a play started. I mean, there was nothing that was cohesive on the offensive line. Not a matter of talent, it felt like, because there are guys that came from UCLA that had played a lot of football and guys that had played a lot of football at Baylor, but they just couldn't put it together. So hopefully it's a different scenario this year. But I want to talk about the guy that'll be ideally behind that offensive line. What's your assessment of this quarterback battle? I know it's only spring and we saw very limited sample sizes from all these guys. Is there a guy that you like right now out of those 3 or 4?
Yeah, it's such a tough battle, honestly. I mean, I think that you look at that and any one of those 3 guys, and I mean, even I don't think Kyron Jones is going to start, but talent-wise, I mean, he's up there with any of them, right? I mean, I think it's pretty wide open. I'd say that so far, I mean, Jacob Zeno kind of seems like the name that keeps coming out. I mean, obviously, when he was able to get protection when he played before, I mean, he obviously has that crazy arm, right? And I know that with this scheme and with this offense, they need to attack down the field. He's their best downfield passer in a lot of ways. You know, the flip side of that, right, is you look at a Gary Bohannon and you even look at a Blake Shapen. I think that they move better, right? I think that they're able to kind of get after it, and they're able to kind of deal with maybe obviously an offensive line that's still going to be a work in progress. If I had to pick one right now, I think Zeno is probably the guy. But, you know, for me, I think the guy who's going to be a dark horse heading into fall camp, especially as he's able to kind of really focus on football, I think Blake Shapen is a really interesting option. You know, I think that he proved over the course of the spring that he does have the arm to play in this offense, to keep attacking down the field. He doesn't have the greatest arm of the bunch. I mean, he's third out of those three, but I think that he clearly has a strong enough arm to be able to play in this offense. And, you know, I think that in a lot of ways, he reminds me, he's the one out of the three that reminds me the most of Zach Wilson. Now, Zach Wilson is 1-1, right? I mean, that he is his own guy. He was the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, all these records, all these numbers, right? But I think that in terms of a guy who can do the arm angle thing, you know, I think being a baseball player has really helped Blake Shapen out in terms of moving around. I think he's the dark horse to play. Now, Gary Bohannon, too, I think he definitely has a chance to start. I mean, he's arguably, you know, one of the most physically gifted of the three, you know, tremendously strong arm, can move outside of the pocket. But I really don't know. I mean, this is as open a quarterback battle as I can remember. But if I had to pick now, I think I'd go Zeno. But I think that Shapen's going to make a real case in the fall.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad you mentioned Shapen. He's a comp that I mentioned Zach Wilson on our show on Uptempo, which is 11 to 2 on weekdays, shameless plug. But also Baker Mayfield's a name that I feel like sort of comps well with him, with kind of being the undersized guy, not the most electric arm, but can still make plays, especially with his feet. Now, I look across this roster and I just see there's so much talent in all these skill positions where I'm thinking, I mean, you can kind of be okay with any of these three, right? Like I'm thinking, is Baylor really 2 wins better with any of these quarterbacks? Is that an ignorant thought to think that you could probably play any of these guys and maybe be within a game of what you would be if you have Zeno, if you have Bohannon? Like, does your record change a lot? Maybe that's an ignorant thought, but that's just kind of where my mind is, given how much talent they have with these skill players.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that this – I mean, there's going to be so many eyes on this position, right? I mean, it's the quarterback position. They're replacing a guy who's a 4-year starter, obviously, led Baylor to a Big 12 title game. I mean, you know, it's everybody's going to be looking at that spot, but I do think that you're right, that it's going to depend a lot on what's going on around them, right? I mean, I think that whichever quarterback ends up starting, if this line can't come together, it's not going to matter. We saw that a lot last season. And the flip side of that, right? I mean, you have this group of running backs. You know, you add Abram Smith back to the mix, who, you know, I've heard a little bit, you know, could potentially be in line for a starting job after moving back from linebacker. And then you mix it with those receivers. I mean, Tyquan Thornton was a name that we didn't get to hear last year because they couldn't protect long enough to get him the ball. And you mix that with an R.J. Sneed. You mix in some of these other guys, you know, even a Drew Estrada who transferred, obviously. I mean, you've got so many weapons. You mentioned it. And so I do think that you're right, that it's probably not going to be the most important battle that happens is at that quarterback position. The biggest thing that I'll say is that I probably want them to try to be decisive, right? I want them to make a decision because I think that the way that you shape your offense heading into the fall, the way that you shape your game plan heading into games, I think that that's going to change based on who you have under center. I think that, you know, obviously with the Jacobs, you know, you're going to want to have to, you know, try to create a clean pocket. You're going to want to try to make things easy for him, you know, and so that you can let him deal. And I think that with the Shapen, I think even with the Bohannon, you know, with the Shapen, maybe you're rolling him out a bit more to try to pass. And I think with the Gary Bohannon, maybe you're running more zone read. Maybe you're running more, you know, getting outside the pocket as well. You know, so I'm curious to see what they do. And I hope that they kind of make that decision quickly because I think that it's going to, you know, in that way shape the way that the offense looks.
Oh, 100%. And with that being said, what's the ideal timeline for you in terms of naming a starter? Like, is game 3, game 4 with Kansas, is that too soon? I mean, excuse me, is that too soon? Is that too late in the process if you're having a guy by Kansas?
Yeah, I'm really curious, right, from their perspective. I feel like you definitely have the ability to play multiple quarterbacks, like you mentioned, through those first couple of weeks of the season. I mean, you know, Baylor doesn't play too much of a losable game up until that point. But, you know, the thing that you say too, right, is that you don't want a guy to have to only get the full reps, you know, the full first team starting reps for the first time when you start playing Big 12 competition, right? I think for me, I'm not saying they have to stick with the guy, but I think that you want at least that week of practice for the game, and I'd argue maybe another week before that too. That's me, right? And talking to Jeff Grimes, it sounds like he wants to make a decision sooner rather than later. Now, again, nobody's emerged, nobody's kind of wrested away that starting job. I think that they're going to want to do it in the middle of fall camp so that they get a legit amount of time to prepare. But I mean, like you mentioned, I think that you could see any of those guys get reps, and obviously playing some of these, not the best non-conference schedule. The flip side of that is you do get an opportunity, even if it's in the second half, to potentially get some reps.
And I want to correct myself. Game 4 is actually Iowa State. So if they don't have somebody by Iowa State, they bet we got problems. Right. We got problems, Sean. Now, let me ask you this question, be just sort of blunt. How good can this team be? I mean, I actually made a video and said, hey, I think they have the talent, maybe with some things to go their way. Maybe they don't win the Big 12. They can probably be in that upper 3 teams to compete for it. Again, that's a lot of things going your way. That's assuming you find a gold mine at quarterback. How good can this team be in your mind?
So there is one team, right, in Oklahoma. They're so far above everybody else. I don't even think it's that close. I think they could be a legit preseason top 3 team. I wouldn't argue too much if you rank them preseason number 1. I think this is their best team since 2008 at least, right? And so they're just different plans, like not even worth having that conversation. After that, I mean, I think Iowa State is a better team than Baylor, even sort of the best version of the Baylor, but they're not unimpeachably so. I think that TCU, I mean, they returned so much. They should be that 3rd team. But, I mean, I don't think that anybody 2 through 9 is set in stone by any means. I think that almost any of those teams, I think, could finish in almost any one of those places. Now, obviously, I don't expect Iowa State to finish 9th by any means, but I think that middle class of the Big 12 this upcoming year, because also so many players are coming back with a super senior year or just another year of eligibility, I think that it's going to be as competitive a Big 12 as there's been this past couple of years, just because I think that middle is going to be so strong. Now, the flip side of that is I think that if you can be a team that elevates itself 5% more, right, I think you can beat all those teams. I don't think that there's anybody on the schedule outside of Oklahoma who's totally unbeatable. So if I had to pick right now, right, I mean, certainly you'd expect, obviously, for Baylor to be back, in a bowl game, back competing for 7-8 wins. But the ceiling, I think the one factor that can potentially change that to another level is that quarterback, right? If you do get great quarterback play, I think that's the last step. Because I look at this defense, and this defense is crazy, right? You add Siaki Ika to the mix. I think that defensive line was that last piece. And then you look at the secondary, I think it's one of the best secondaries in the Big 12. You look at that linebacking core, it's my favorite linebacking core in a lot of ways in the Big 12. And defensive line, again, I think that you're going to get a lot more from it because you have that gap filler inside. And so I look at that defense and I'm like, there's no reason that this defense can't be a top 1-2 defense in the Big 12, right? I think it's all there. And so you look at last year, right? I mean, they finished 2-7, but like the flip side of that, right, is they won 2 games basically without fielding an offense in a lot of ways, right? So I don't think that it will take that much improvement for this team to not just be better, but to be pretty good, right? And so, and then you add to the mix again. You add back 3 non-conference games, right? Which Baylor didn't get to play last year, and that obviously makes your season feel a whole lot better, right? I mean, 5-6 or whatever feels a lot better than 2-6, right, or 2-7. And so I think that it's not going to take that much for Baylor to look a lot better than they did last year. Again, we'll see whether they have maybe the upside to break into that top group. But I don't think outside of Oklahoma, I don't think anybody's unimpeachably better. So, competing for 8-9 wins, I think that's certainly in play.
Yeah, I mean, this defense is good enough, it feels like, to keep them in virtually every single game they play. And I'm so glad you said that. They won 2 games last year without an offense. Like, it was the most bizarre thing to watch. And so I'm very excited to see how they do with the easier non-conference and with a full season, with a full off-season is going to be crucial. How many wins does this team need to get for you to feel comfortable about Dave Aranda? Is there like a number there for you where it's like, okay, if they get 5-6 wins, I'm okay with this?
Yeah, I think that to feel okay, I think that they have to go 6-6. I think they have to make a bowl game, and I think they have to do it relatively comfortably. I'm not saying that they have to like crush teams on the way to it, but I think that if you get to 6-6, like, there shouldn't be any sort of pressure on him. I think that you kind of feel like things are moving in the right direction. And the other thing too is that okay, if it is 5-7 instead of 6-6, for example, right? If you're competitive in these games, if you look like you belong on the field, right? Because there were games last year. I mean, I was at that Oklahoma State game, right? That can't happen under any circumstances again next year, right? Like, they can't play games like that. Again, other than maybe Oklahoma, they can play a game like that. But other than that, you can't play another game like that. You can't be blown out. You can't look outclassed on a football field again. But I think that if they get 6-6, they'll feel fine about it. And what's funny is I look back again to the Matt Rule years, and they went 1-11, they went 7-6, and then they go 11-3, right? And the funny thing about it is, I feel like their records were so not representative of how good those teams were, right? I felt like at 1-11, that team was so much better than 1-11, right? They were to me, in terms of quality, a 4 or 5 win team, right? And then you go to year 2, maybe 6-6 probably is about what they were, right? They were about an average team, maybe slightly above average team. And then, I think that, not to get down the Charlie Brewer discussion, I think that it's such a testament to Charlie Brewer that they were able to come away in those late game situations and win 11 games. I don't think that team was anywhere close to being the kind of caliber of a team that usually wins 11 games. And so I kind of feel like that last year, right? Like, you watch that Baylor team and you're like, how is this team going 2-7? This team is not a 2-7 team, right? This is a better team than that. And now you head into this year. I think it's kind of like that second year under Matt Rule, where it's just like, okay, and the funny thing about it, right? If Matt Rule goes 4-8 to 7-6 to, even 11, right? People aren't that excited about it. It's because he got kind of that whole wave, right? That everybody was like, oh man, 1-11 to 11-1, right? But I think that I look at this team again, they were a lot better in their record last year, in my opinion. So, I don't think that they need to take a huge step to be a 6-7-8 win team, right? I think that's right there for them. And so I'll be excited to see if they can do it.
And I'm so glad you said that too, because there were so many games that went their way in the Sugar Bowl year that they were in to the very end this past year that just didn't go their way. It was like the bad director's cut of a lot of these different, like Texas Tech, Iowa State, all those games, just like, gosh, dang it, man. Now, you mentioned Charlie Brewer. I know he's not necessarily a Texas football player now, but he's still, born and bred in the soil. What do you see with him coming in at Utah? He's kind of the guy there from what it sounds like.
Yeah, I think that it says a lot about him that he's been able to come in and like you said, kind of lock down that position because, with Utah, they had a kid in Jake Bentley who started as a freshman at South Carolina who ended up transferring right before spring ball. Then you have a kid in Jaquindon Jackson, obviously. Everybody who watched Texas high school football remembers him from the Duncanville days, transferred in from Texas. And you also had Cameron Rising, who was a quarterback, I believe, from California, who was at Texas as well. He came in with Casey Thompson, ended up transferring. So I think it says a lot about Charlie Brewer and what that staff thinks of him, that he came in and was like the guy, right? And I actually think that this is a pretty good offense for him. It's a very run-based offense, so I don't think he'll be asked to do quite as much at Utah as he was asked to do at Baylor. And I think that's going to be really good for him to kind of get to be a game manager in some ways. Because you look at Tyler Huntley, who led them to, again, a 10-win season a couple of years ago. He was not the most gifted passer. And I think that Brewer, I don't want to say that Brewer's not the most gifted passer, but obviously he doesn't have the big arm, right? And I think that being accurate, being decisive, making quick decisions, I think that's going to really bode well for him at Utah. And again, just being able to lean on that run game a little bit, kind of just be a good decision maker, which Charlie Brewer has done for so much of his career. Again, I think that it's going to be a really good fit for him. I think that they've got a system over there that works. They've got a coaching staff over there that's accomplished a whole lot. And again, I do think it says a lot about Charlie Brewer and what he accomplished at Baylor before whatever the hell happened last year, that obviously Utah really wanted to turn over their offense.
Yeah, I think everybody in Waco just wishes nothing but the best for Charlie Brewer because he literally willed that team to a Sugar Bowl, given everything, including his body. We'll finish with this. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Texas Longhorns, which I know I'll probably get some heat for. A lot of people are turning off the show right now since we're talking about UT, but I am of the thought that I think Texas is probably a lot better than some people think this year. I think Steve Sarkisian's a great offensive mind, and Casey Thompson is potentially a world beater if he's anything like we saw in that bowl game. But people don't care what I think. Shahan, what do you think about this, man?
So here's my one question with Texas. Well, I got a lot of questions, but here's my one big question with Texas, okay? How does Steve Sarkisian's offense work when you take Devontae Smith and turn him into Jake Smith, right? How does it work when you take, Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Waddle, and you turn them into, some guys who haven't done a whole lot, right? And so I think that's going to be the big question for me. Now, the flip side is, I'm not saying that Bijan Robinson is better than Najee Harris, because obviously he's not. But, I think that Bijan Robinson is a more explosive player than Najee Harris was at Alabama. And so I think that they're going to lean on him a lot. So I do trust that this offense is going to look pretty different than the one that you saw at Alabama, at least at first. And you mentioned Casey Thompson. I think that he has a lot of upside. Hudson Card, if he comes in and wins the job, I think that says a lot about him too. I think that they're going to be set at that quarterback position. I'm curious again about those receivers, because I feel like I've heard every year, right? Like, this is the year the Texas receivers, man, they're going to break out. And I'm not even thinking it's a talent thing, right? I mean, I think, Jordan Humphrey, he had a great year, right? I think Devin Duvernay, he had a great year. But I think that they just haven't done a lot of good things to kind of make best use of the talent that they have, and haven't developed those guys at a very high level, in my opinion. And so now you bring in some guys. I think Andre Coleman did a pretty good job with the wide receivers last year as wide receivers coach. Well, now you get an offense that's really going to ask them to do a lot. You're going to have to win every one-on-one matchup. You're going to have to get into space. You're going to have to run routes at a really high level. And on top of that, you're going to have to do that in an offense that's asking you to do different things than what Tom Herman was asking you to do. So, look, I think that Steve Sarkisian is long-term going to be a really good fit for Texas. I think he's going to, create those sort of top 10 offenses that you saw him create at Alabama. But I really am curious in this first year, not even getting to the defensive side of the ball where you lose the Joe Sosai, Caden Stearns, some really good players. That's really my big question, right? If Steve Sarkisian is able to come in and put Jake Smith and put Josh Moore and put these guys in really good situations, if Jordan Whittington can stay healthy, obviously, I think that obviously there's a lot of upside there. There's always high upside at Texas, right? But I am curious, heading to a new conference, and by the way, a conference that's made to stop offenses like Steve Sarkisian, which is something that I don't think that he's necessarily used to. I'm curious if there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve just to kind of get his feet underneath them. And by the way, I got to mention, they open with Louisiana and Arkansas in their first two games. I think those are two games, not that they're going to lose either or both, but those are losable games. The fact that you don't get any sort of honeymoon period before you kind of start your career at Texas, I mean, that's pretty tough. So I think that Texas is going to be, by the end of the year, a much better team than they were at the beginning of the year. But I'm curious, in terms of just record, right? I don't know exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, they do not get a cakewalk, first of all, in that non-conference. I'm glad you said that. And also hitting what you said, it is definitely high upside year in and year out. They are always, it seems like, the sexy pick to be in the playoff or to be in the Big 12 championship conversation. But Shahan, thanks so much for coming on, man. I'm here with a Bear Games question. What is your favorite Baylor tradition, being a Baylor alum?
My favorite Baylor tradition, man, I think that you have to go with running the Baylor line, right? Even when I was a reporter, right? I mean, people who know me a little bit, my last 3 years there, I was with the newspaper, I was at the morning news, doing all the reporting stuff. At my senior game, which was, I don't know if you guys remember the Baylor-Texas game where Baylor had to play without a quarterback.
I was there. Oh, yeah, I was there.
Yep, good time. But I had to, even though I had a credential and even though I had to cover the game and even though I had to write about it, I was like, you guys need to cover me for a second because I'm going to go run the line for the last time because, man, that's the sort of tradition, man. That's once in a lifetime stuff. And I think it's so cool that Baylor does that and that they really emphasize the freshmen. I think that's one of the coolest things that they do, that they kind of, the moment that you get here are like, you guys are the superstars. You guys kind of get the opportunity to do the coolest thing that we do here. So I think, yeah, for me, it's running the Baylor line.
Man, that's fantastic. Can't think of a better answer than that. Shahan, thank you so much for coming on. Again, it's Shahan Jaraja with Dave Campbell's Texas Football, best in the business, the college football insider for them, covering the entire state of Texas, every single college school there. He's got you covered. Shahan, thanks for coming on, boss.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right.
Yeah, right back. We came right back to Uptempo for Celebrity Birthdays. All right, everybody, cue that music. Celebrity birthday number 1. This one comes from the great state of Alabama. Zach Heron, pop singer.
Can't be that good of a pop singer.
Pop singer. Singer. 30.
Hardly know. Pop, I'm going to say 26.
20 years old. Princess May. Contrary to popular belief, she is not a princess. She's an Instagram star.
12.
Ooh, good guess. I'm going to say 17.
She is 21. She can drink today. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Congratulations.
Partied up for Princess May.
Congrats.
Blippy, the YouTube star.
Blippy.
Why do I know that name?
Because you do.
20.
Armstrong, what's Blippy?
I have no idea.
Sounds so familiar. I'm going to say 23.
Nope. 33.
Blippy. Completely sarcastic.
Royalty Brown. Probably Chris Breezy's daughter, maybe? Royalty Brown?
6.
Okay.
30.
7. Thank you.
Oh,
Chris Brown's daughter,
good.
30. Harvey Price, he is a family member, and it looks as though he's in a wheelchair. So those are your 2 hints.
80.
Nope.
79.
19.
19?
In a wheelchair? Why would you say wheelchair?
I don't know.
Maybe he is in a wheelchair.
Shiloh Jolie Pitt, the child of Brangelina.
Yeah.
Oh. 9.
Oh, wait.
You know this? This could be a man
15.
card.
He is 15.
Oh my God.
You know why I know that? Only because of The Office. And I just did math in my head. When did that episode come out where she specifically Kelly specifically referenced it, and then I did math.
Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee played he was in Star Wars. Count Dooku.
Oh.
Count Dooku
Rest
in
in
Star
peace,
Wars.
yeah.
Count Dooku? Did you say Count Dooku?
Yeah.
I'm walking off this show.
I don't know. 77.
I'm leaving this show.
And he also played the dad in Willy Wonka, the new Willy Wonka, the one, the dentist.
77.
Okay.
Uncle Joe?
Is he alive?
Yeah. How old?
Oh, 60.
Dead, 99.
Yeah.
Andre
Oh,
3000, last one here. Andre 3000. Andre.
53.
Okay.
52.
46. This day in sports history, Australian cricket fast bowler Fred Spaforth takes 10-20 in quick-fire 9-wicket tour match win over MCC in London.
1891.
1892.
73.
78? Oh, dang it. I was caught completely off guard. I was prepared to ask you more celebrity birthdays in this day in sports history.
Yeah, pretty bad day for celebrity birthdays.
However,
I don't know who wanted to do that.
the outro was cued. Therefore, I can talk no longer. I'm Drake Toll, Armstrong Sims, Max Kellerman. We got Andrew Robertson, Marquise
And
Cooley,
yet you continue to talk.
Jack McKenzie. If you can be it, you can dream it. I can guarantee you that much. This has been, we'll see you again at 11 o'clock tomorrow, Up Tempo.